Welcome back, my friends. Another great episode of Talkin' Ball with Bekks is just around the corner. Before we start, we have to take care of a little business. Hit pause just for a second and subscribe to the show. The show was created for one reason only, to support Next from the North, our brand new platform designed to help Canadian ball players get recruited for free. Every subscription brings more exposure, bigger guests, and ultimately more opportunity for our prospects to reach their dreams. There's no charge to subscribe. We will not spam you. We're simply trying to help kids, again, for free. So do your part. You may just help a future Canadian star of the diamond achieve a lifelong goal of playing college ball in the USA. It's so simple. Hit subscribe, hit play, then kick back and watch 3 more amazing guests talk a little ball with Bekks. Thank you, my friends, and enjoy the show. Friends, welcome to another amazing episode of Talkin' Ball with Bekks from Gap to Gap and Coast to Coast. It is episode number 5, and we've got some incredible guests lined up in just a couple of minutes. Opening week has come and gone in the MLB when, no matter what your team did or didn't do in the offseason, hope springs eternal. This could be the year your team becomes the Rays or the A's, and somehow, against all odds, simply find a way. My favorite season of the year, fan overreaction season. There are 162 games, people. The first 5, they don't really make or break the season. I hate to break it to you. The Orioles swept the Red Sox, for goodness sakes. Are the Orioles winning the East? Absolutely not. The only true takes from opening week are as follows. Yes, the Dodgers are still the best team in baseball. You can't deny it. They are incredible. The Yankees pitching, outside of Garrett Cole, is nowhere near good enough to win the American League. You heard it here first. COVID is still wreaking havoc on pro sports, although the state of Texas has clearly thrown up 2 middle fingers and said a sweet FU to the virus. And somehow, despite legendary ineptitude, Rob Manfred is still the commissioner of baseball. Did you happen to see the egregious act that led to Nick Castellanos getting suspended last week? It is truly unbelievable. The man put his arms in the air in a nice flex pose as he crossed home plate. Somehow that led to benches clearing and a 2-game suspension for Nick Castellanos. Oh, Rob, what can we do to make you go away? Something. Anything. The Castellanos suspension is as off the mark as Joe Kelly's from last year, and the lack of any punishment whatsoever for the entire Astros lineup from 17 and 18. Just plain awful. But I digress. We are off and running in 2021, and this just in, Michael Trout is still really good at baseball. On the college side, 2 great stories are emerging. First, the Southeastern Conference is effectively trying to become the first conference in history to occupy the entire top 10. And second, Vanderbilt University may become the first school in history to produce the first and second overall picks in the upcoming MLB draft. Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker are downright filthy, and they are destined to go 1 and 2. It will be incredible to watch. Jack Leiter threw a no-hitter already this year with 17 Ks. It's just unbelievable what these 2 guys are doing. And as a result, the Vanderbilt University Commodores are, at the top of the rankings once again. In softball news, our Canadian Olympic team were finally able to gather as a group down in Florida. And all reports from this amazing team are very, very positive. Something tells me hardware is imminent for these ladies in Tokyo. And I, for one, couldn't be more excited to watch this group chase their dreams and bring home the gold. Next week, we are absolutely fortunate to have the leader of this team join us on our show. Victoria Hayward has been with the Canadian Olympic contingent for many, many years, as well as a leader with Athletes Unlimited. And we are so fortunate to have her around. Next week, we will dig deep into Canadian Olympic softball, as well as Athletes Unlimited. We got an unbelievable show again just around the corner. Tag Weeder, Lou Pote, and Chris Rietzma standing by on Talkin' Ball with Bekks. From Gap to Gap and Coast to Coast, thanks a lot for stopping by. You're Talkin' Ball with Bekks from Gap to Gap and Coast to Coast. It is time to shine the spotlight on our Next from the North Future Star of the Week. There's really only one word to describe our next guest: stud. He has been virtually the best player on almost every team he's ever played on since he was a wee lad. He is a track star, running the 1, 2, and 400 meter at the provincial level. He runs a 6.660, and on top of that, the kid hits bombs. On the negative side, he actually likes the Edmonton Oilers. And wait for it, Tom Brady too. We'll forgive him for that because he's actually one of the good guys. He is part of the national powerhouse Okotoks Dogs Academy. We couldn't be more excited to welcome my guy, Tag Weeder, to the show. What is up, my friend? Thanks for spending a minute.
Bekks, how's it going, man? Been watching the show. Love what you're doing. Glad I could be a part of it tonight.
Amazing, my friend. I am so glad to have you on. What is going on in Tag Weeder's life right now?
Oh, just back playing ball. I had shoulder surgery back in September, so I'm just getting back into it. Still stuck outside, unfortunately. It keeps snowing here, so it's not helping anybody out. But, playing for the Dogs, we're lucky enough to have the field house, and we're getting better every day, so it's going good.
Yeah, I know it's been a crazy tough year in so many ways, Tag. Not just the COVID world, the shutdowns, and for you, big surgery on the torn labrum in your shoulder. What's the update? Where are you at physically, mentally? How did you manage yourself over this really, really tough year?
As of right now, shoulder's doing good. Back throwing, back hitting. So a couple more months should be 100%. So I'm good on that front. As far as how I handled the year, little speed bump in the road, but you just got to keep the positivity up, keep grinding through the rehab, get back to ball, and, keep the dream alive. Baseball's not an easy sport, so it's a constant grind no matter what you're doing. And, I think it made me a stronger person. Had to probably my first big injury so far, so it's it's not good, but it's good to get that out of the way, know how to handle it and take care of it, and I think I'm a better ball player and a better person after it.
Yeah, talk about the mental adversity of surgery, Tag. It's such an important year for you, as a junior, heading towards kind of that big senior season and all the things that go along with it. To have surgery right in the middle and be shut down as long as you were, talk about the mental adversity of that for a bit.
Yeah, when I first heard the news, it was, at first it's devastating. You never want to hear anything like that you got to be out for that long. A lot of emotions running through my head. Was I ever going to get to play again? Was I going to be able to come back from it? Scholarships, opportunities. It just seems like, especially when you're trying to get a scholarship, it seems like you're kind of racing against the clock a little bit. I felt like I talked with a few people, a couple coaches, they kind of slowed my mind down, said I still have time. It was unfortunate that we were in that COVID period. A lot of kids reclassing, so it kind of gave me the opportunity. I ended up reclassing as well just to kind of gain back a little ground room when it came to the ball playing side. And like I said, we were bouncing back and forth between the quarantines and getting locked down and stuff. So if it was the right time for the shoulder to go out on me, it was probably during this quarantine period because we were off and on. So it just gave me time to focus on the rehab, get it back to 100%, so I could get back to playing ball this summer.
Yeah, obviously it takes a special kind of mindset, special kind of inner fortitude to fight your way through that kind of injury. And I guess in some respects, Tag, COVID was sort of a benefit to you in a strange way because everybody else was shut down at a time when you were shut down, and so you didn't necessarily miss out on much. Is that true?
Yeah, like I said, it's hard to say that like it sounds funny to say that it happened at a good time for me. I mean, it's an injury you never want it to happen, but it was gonna happen regardless. So I mean, yeah, I kind of lucked out. We weren't playing much ball. We weren't making any trips. Not a lot of scouts coming across the border or anything like that. So I didn't miss out on too much, and I did a lot of prehab, so pre-rehab on the shoulder, got it pretty good, and then had surgery and just built up on the rehab from there. And 6 months later, I feel pretty good. Feel good to be back at it, and shoulders holding up good. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, what do you feel like maybe you lost the most over that downtime, Tag? I mean, baseball is a game of reps, continuous activity, getting your swings in, getting your throws in, getting your fielding in. What maybe fell off a little bit over that long year of downtime?
Yeah, initially going into the injury, you have those thoughts. Geez, long time off. Am I going to be able to come back from it? How's the hitting going to look? How's the fielding going to look? Stuff like that. Um, I feel like since I've been playing ball so long, you got the fundamentals of hitting. Sure, when you step back into practice for the first couple weeks, it might not be perfect, but coaches start giving you little bits of feedback and you start putting stuff together again, and there, lo and behold, the swing's back. And as soon as I was cleared to start running and stuff like that, it's time on the treadmill, it's time getting back in shape. Even if it's just a little steps, little things that you can do just to get better every day and just prepare yourself for the season ahead, because you know 6 months off does a lot to a guy. We couldn't move around, no gyms. It's tough, so you got to find ways just to get better. And for me, not necessarily getting better, but just getting back to where I was initially, and then as soon as we're back there, keep building on top of that.
Yeah, speed is such a huge part of your game, Tag. How's the wheels? Are you feeling like you're getting close to being back to the same old Tag Weeder speed wise?
Yeah, speed felt like it was down, especially at the beginning, but I had to get the body weight back, get the body moving properly again, and then I can start focusing on the speed again. So, when we first got back into practices, it's a lot of agility ladders, a lot of pylons, jumping rope, just little things like that. And I mean, sure, getting back into it, it sucks, but eventually, I felt like I definitely gained a lot back, and the speed's feeling good. So no, it's been a tough road, especially on the legs part, but no, I feel like I'm getting back.
Tag, you're a guy that enjoyed some unbelievable success at a very, very young age. Cochrane Crush days, you guys pretty much smoked everybody in the province. How'd you stay humble? Do you remember the fun times and some of the kids on that team, and how you guys rolled the entire province of Alberta at such a young age?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun playing at a young age like that. It was kind of pretty much all of our first taste of Alberta baseball, and traveling the province and getting to experience road trips and that kind of competition. As far as staying humble, I've had a lot of great coaches along the way, and all those coaches just kind of pushed for you got to keep working every day. Nothing's for free. You got to keep working. Those wins aren't going to come for free. So, every day it was just going to practice and putting in more work and being better. and you win baseball games. You win baseball games. That comes from a lot of hard work and good team effort. So no, I've definitely played with a lot of good teammates, a lot of good coaches, and it's been a lot of fun so far. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
I was going to ask you if you had some coaches and teammates you wanted to sort of throw back to, guys that were impacted you on the coaching level and friends that you played with and continue to be friends with through the years.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely a lot of guys, you move on from. A couple guys don't play ball anymore. A big guy for me, Jackson Clement, been a long time friend of mine. Currently plays down at Vauxhall, going to Utah next year. So no, it's been good. A lot of battles back and forth with him as far as you know who's better and who's not. But that's just all in the good spirit of playing the game. And as far as coaches go, I mean, his dad was a longtime coach of mine, Tyson Ford, Jamie Mitchell. Obviously, a lot of those guys made us into the ball players we are today just from such a young age. Um, yeah.
Yeah, you moved on. The crush, kind of ended. You went and did some Redbirds a little bit, on to the Calgary Cubs. Had great success with that program as well. You were also, at that point, still heavily involved in the Canadian pastime, playing hockey. What do you miss most about being on the ice and playing both sports throughout the year?
It was always a nice change going from hockey to baseball. Nothing ever got boring. As soon as you were done with hockey, it was right into ball season. Um, I mean, my dad played a lot of hockey growing up, good hockey player. So obviously, I was in the skates at a young age. But it came to a time where I had to make a decision, and I felt that baseball was going to be the right path for me. So, I'm still, like you said, an Oilers fan. I still watch the games and go to the outdoor rink with the boys and stuff like that. Just trying to be a kid still, change it up. But no, it was definitely hockey was good to me, but baseball's been good to me too, so I can't complain with either.
Yeah, what was the driving force behind that decision tag? I know lots of kids go through that in those sort of middle years, middle teen years, where they have to make a decision to go with one or the other. What was the trigger point that said it was ball over hockey?
The Okotoks Dogs program's not too far from my parents' house, so where I grew up, so that was definitely a big contributor. Um, I also just had to look at where was I going to get farther with. I was kind of a late bloomer when it came to hockey, and I just felt like as far as, you know, even if you don't make it to the bigs, you still have the opportunity to play college baseball, possibly get some of your education paid for, and you still get to play the game that you love for a long time. Um, I also looked at, hockey's pretty tough on the body, so try hopefully get to have a much longer career playing baseball and like I said, go on hopefully and play college ball and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that you choose the safer of the two sports and end up with the massive injury along the way? So, kind of ironic. In your final year of Cubs, you actually took down the Dogs in the Bantam Provincials, and then shortly after, you make the decision to join the arch rivals. And head down to the Dogs Academy. Some of your good buds, you mentioned Jackson Clement, Carter Anderson, Nick Backstrom, they all go to Vauxhall, and you decide on the Dogs. Where, talk about the process that led to that decision tag and how how you felt about leaving your tight buds that were going elsewhere and choosing to play for the Dogs instead.
Yeah, there were definitely a couple options out there. I just looked at the Dogs as a winning program, played against them for a long time, had the opportunity to compete against the players that they were putting out, and you can clearly see that they're coaching winning ball clubs and they're winning baseball games. So, had to go where I felt as though I was going to be a better player, get to be a better player. Obviously, the facilities are absolutely incredible over at the Siemens Stadium complex. You got the state-of-the-art field. You got Tourmaline with the turf. Get that shoveled off. You're out there when the snow's still on the ground. And when it's too cold to go outside, you got the field house that you can go and get better at. So, I just felt that the dogs, they were the better fit for me, and I'm happy with the decision I made.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worked out very well. Right away when you got there, what were some of the differences that stood out immediately, and what you had done before, and the new process of playing full-time year-round academy ball with the Okotoks Dogs?
Yeah, no, it was definitely different. Like I said, bouncing back from hockey to baseball, you always had to change. So it's definitely different showing up first day in September. They got the welcome barbecue, and it's pretty much day one's a little more relaxed, but day two, it's go time. And, it's definitely a grind at the beginning. Went through my first circuit, definitely a grind there. But,
Did you puke?
oh, first one I did, but haven't since then. So that's a plus side. Anyways, so, yeah, it's just every day you gotta want it. Even those days, you're waking up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. days, you don't feel like getting out of bed. You just gotta dig deep, and you gotta tell yourself that you want it and get better every day. So no, it was definitely a challenge getting into the everyday type groove, but it's definitely been fun along the way.
No doubt. Was there someone in the program that stood out right away as an immediate influence on you?
Yeah, you look at those guys, Cesar Valero, Micah McDowell, Aiden Macris, guys like that, they're the big dogs, they're the seniors. So obviously you're looking up to them right off the bat. I remember showing up to first day of school and sitting beside Nash Kroll, just finished playing against him in the 15U Nationals. He We sat beside each other, and I said, "Hey, I'm Tag. I remember playing against you at Nationals. I hear you're a dog now." So that was definitely fun to meet new guys. And yeah, for sure, John Luke, guy I lived with, tough. I mean, it's tough getting close with those guys right off the bat. They're homesick. Everyone's homesick. So, but all in all, at the end of the day, one of my best friends, definitely a brother I'll have for life, along with the countless other players I've played with in the academy.
It is a special place for sure. Ted, you've made many zone provincial teams in your long excuse me, young life. Those teams have to come together real quick and compare the all-star team environment that is provincial zone Canada Cup teams versus Dogs Black, which is also kind of a national all-star team, but different in that you have a lot of time to prepare. What's that like, making those all-star teams and having to come together for an immediate tournament?
It's definitely different. It's more of a sprint. They say baseball is more of a marathon, but getting those teams together is definitely a sprint. You go to camp for 3-4 days, and that's all you get with those guys before you head off to the tournament. And it's definitely tough, but I've been lucky enough to play with a lot of great teammates on those teams, and they know the goal is to win those tournaments and win those gold medals. So it makes it a lot easier when you got 20 guys showing up ready to win, and they know what the job is. The job has to be done. So, yeah, I've just been lucky enough to have those teammates. And
favorite memory from one of those all-star tournaments?
I remember winning the zone championship up in Grand Prairie. Definitely a big one for us. We were down to Fort Mac pretty early in the first game, so that was a little bit of a shaky start, but we ended up pulling it together, and we had a great tournament. Western Canada Summer Games, it was great experience getting to go there, experience the opening and closing ceremonies, being in that environment, being able to support the province, put that flag on your back, put the Alberta colors on, and watch the other sports, and they come and watch you, and taking home the gold was definitely special at that one.
That was awesome. Great memories for sure. In the fall of 2019, pre-COVID world, you guys, the Dogs Academy that is, went on the trip of a lifetime. Try your best to recap the amazing West Coast tour that the Dogs went through in 19 before COVID world hit us.
Oh, definitely a once in a lifetime experience playing against like teams like Oregon, Oregon State, Bakersfield, San Jose State. Played against Limbetten Community College. Great experience being able to tour those campuses and being able to play those ball clubs. A lot of close games with some of those teams really showed all of us. I felt like it really opened up a door in our minds, saying that we're almost there. We like I said, the Dogs produce winning ball clubs, and we showed up there to win those games and pretty close to doing so in a few of them. So no, it was definitely a great experience. A lot of good memories bonding with the guys. A lot of hours on the bus. You're you're pulling up at 12 at night, and you're leaving the next day at 7 in the morning. So it's quick turnarounds, but I felt like it really got us prepared for what's ahead. You start playing university ball, it's long bus trips. You get the chance to play in the WCBL, it's long bus trips there. And, I felt like it really prepared us as well as showed us how good you need to be to get to the next level and how good we really were.
Yeah, you must have seen some incredible pitching that you probably hadn't before that trip.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a lot different than I remember. I remember we were playing Seattle, and they had a guy that came out of JUCO. I think got drafted pretty high. He was up to 96, probably 90-mile-an-hour slider. Definitely nothing I'd ever seen before. So that was definitely goes to show how good those guys are.
Yeah, it's a different world down there for sure. One of the biggest things COVID has done to programs such as the Dogs Academy is the amount of returning players. It's changed because the amount of opportunity in each academy is different. The players are staying longer, they're older, they're bigger, they're stronger. So essentially what you did on the West Coast tour, you're experiencing now on a regular basis. Talk about the mental challenge of establishing yourself again against kids that are now almost adults and playing virtually college baseball at the high school level.
Yeah, no, I think what kind of happens is you make a team, you settle in a little bit. I think with a lot of guys coming back, a lot of older guys, it really goes to show that you can't really settle into your spot. You got to keep working every day and get better. You're fighting for a spot every day, no matter what. So I think with having those older guys back, it just you keep climbing up the staircase to get to their level, get to their size, their speed, their strength, their skill in the game. So it's definitely motivation. So yeah, it's been good. You talk about us that 2019 season. It would have been great to see us play in some of those tournaments, see how good the team really was in those tournaments. But a couple guys moved on. We got a lot of new guys coming in, so it's going to be good to see what the team can do this year.
Yeah, no question. We're hoping for a season of some sort, depending on obviously the world and the restrictions and such. Tag, before the injury, you were on a skyrocket path. It's safe to say that drawing attention from a lot of different places. How have your expectations changed, if they have? Have you sort of changed course at all, or are you still on the same path you were before the injury?
I feel like I'm still on the same path, still showing up every day, trying to get better. I don't really think I ever expected anything. So pre-injury, I don't think I ever showed up to the ballpark taking it easy, taking a day off, thinking, it's just going to come to me. So I feel like with the injury, I feel like I'm showing up to the ballpark wanting to work more. I got to work more to get back at it. So honestly, I feel like the injuries definitely changed my mindset a little bit, made me definitely a stronger, better person when it comes to showing up and putting the work in.
Yeah, what about balancing the life of being a 17-year-old now? I know you have a job, and there's some social side you want to still be a part of. You still want to be a bit of a kid, and at the same time chase your dream and your goal along the way. How do you balance it all now, Tag? Whereas before it was just ball and nothing else, and now there's a lot more that goes on in your life, and how you make that all work together.
Yeah, for sure. And I know any kid playing sport, whether it's hockey, baseball, football, anything, you got to balance school, social life, job, stuff like that. Um, I feel like regardless of that, you still got to set goals for yourself. Obviously, my goal, um, get a scholarship to play college ball and see where it takes me from there. So you got to make sacrifices when it comes to the social life. Obviously, still got to work, still got to make some money and help pay for the your way. And obviously, that's important in becoming even an adult, not just paying for school or anything like that. You just got to teach yourself some values in life. And no, I just think that. I have goals for myself, and you got to show up every day. You're working for those goals. So obviously, that's going to come with some side effects. You're not going to be able to see your friends as much and do as much, but hopefully, in the end, it pays off for you.
Yeah, no question. And, you mentioned goals. If we do get back to playing regular baseball this summer, what are your ball-specific goals for 2021?
Oh, I think having missed the season, I just like to come out, have a good year. Obviously, the goal is to win baseball games. As far as the whole academy side goes, you still have to focus on your own development. So, still coming back from an injury, trying not to overload myself, just taking it one day at a time, not thinking too far ahead in the future. So, I mean, ball specific goals are just to get healthy and play the game I know how to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully get some travel in if we can get these borders opened up. I know there's some incredible events planned for the Dogs Academy, including Ontario Blue Jays and some stuff back east. And then, of course, the West Coast swing back in the fall again. So I know the answer to this question, but I'll put you on the spot. What's the dream school for Tag Weeder?
Oh, it's got to be the Auburn Tigers all the way, actually. Wearing the sweatshirt right now.
Of course.
Grew up watching a lot of college football with my dad. He's a big Bo Jackson fan, so just kind of gravitated towards the Tigers. I know some recents, Josh Donaldson played there, so yeah, my goal is to play at the University of Auburn.
That is a pretty fantastic goal. I think from the rankings that have run across the bottom of the screen, we will notice that the Southeastern Conference is dominant at the D1 baseball level. Pretty sure there's 7 of the top 10 come out of the SEC. So hell of a goal, my friend, no question. And you've got a few of your fellow teammates that have already committed to some SEC schools like Jack Lyons, like Carson Hindmarsh, among others. So, the path is paved for you, and I know you have the talent. I know you have the desire, and at the end of the day, you deserve to get to that level that you want to get to, my friend. Tag Weeder, it has been a blast, and I appreciate you stopping by for a minute and hanging out on Talkin' Ball with Bekks. We need to get together and catch up, my friend. It's been awesome having you. Thanks, and have an unbelievable 2021, my friend.
Yeah, Bex, I appreciate it. Definitely, for sure, we got to catch up, and hopefully the restrictions settle down and we'll be back playing ball in no time. But yeah, like I said, I love what you're doing with the show, and I'm glad I could be a part of it tonight.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Peace out, my friend. What an amazing young man, my guy, Tag Weeder. Good Canadian kid and one of our future stars of Next from the North. Thanks to him for stopping by and hanging out for a minute, telling us all about what's going on in the world of Tag Weeder. I would like to take just a second to talk to you all about Next from the North. I have created a website free of charge for Canadian kids to get noticed. If you log on to Becksy.com, scroll down to Next from the North, and click the button Get Noticed Now. Little questionnaire pops up. You fill it out, you hit submit, and you are in. It is that simple. Again, it is free. No charge to get recruited now. Coaches from all over America, access to them through me, through the site, through the Baseball Observer. It is simple, my friends. Take advantage. Why wouldn't you? It is free, and I will help you get recruited. I promise you. So log on to Becksy.com, scroll down to Next from the North, and let's get you across the border playing college ball down south. You are talking ball with Bekks from Gap to Gap and Coast to Coast. Once again, welcoming another amazing guest. I am so very excited to have finally nailed down our next guy. He is truly one of the good guys in the world of baseball. He pitched in the major leagues for over 4 seasons and won a World Series with the Anaheim Angels in 2002. Currently, he hangs his hat in Okotoks with the World Class Dogs Academy as head coach of the 15U group and academy pitching instructor. He is, without question, one of the greatest storytellers I have ever met. He is Lou Pote. I'm honored to welcome him to the show. What is up, my friend? How are things down at Duvernay?
Going good, going good. Appreciate you having me on. Just really looking forward to getting outside and playing ball.
Yeah, super pumped, buddy. Let's do this. Opening day just came and left us. Does it still get you excited like it used to? Obviously, you're long done with the playing career, but do you still get pumped on opening day like you used to?
Oh yeah. It's it's like pretty much shut down everything else. If I'm working, I'm leaving the field house or we're going to into the lobby to watch the games. But it's first couple of years after I was done playing, it was pretty hard because for 20 seasons I've been doing it at just about every level. Even in minor league ball, the opening day was unreal. And one of my favorite things about opening day, in the dugout, getting ready for the game, everybody comes up, shakes each other's hands, have a great season. And that's probably one of the things that I try to do with my guys, on our first game, because I thought that was and I never had that experience until I got to pro ball, and it was, rookie ball, minor, didn't matter what level. And then when I got to the big leagues, it was the same thing. It was something that, I really miss, but I try to pass on to our guys.
Yeah, you're a sports guy, Lou. Why do you think opening day in baseball is so much different than the other sports? First game of the NBA season, first game of the hockey season, even football, it doesn't have that same feel. Opening day, it's its own thing. And why do you think that is? That baseball's opening day is such a big day down in America?
I just think, it's the first time that you're, as a fan base and as a city, you get to see your team in action, and I think, because they train in, spring training, they follow them online, they see the, on the news, the teams, down in Arizona, down in Florida, but it's like the first time you actually see them in person. And, the buildup of spring training and all the signings and, you get your fantasy league. I know, just my dad and my brother and my friends back in Chicago, to this day, like the whole off season is a build up to spring training. And, either we're, saying we should have signed more guys, and, spring training, hey, did you see so-and-so, Crochet, he's throwing gas. So just, it's the whole build up. And then it's the first time you get to see the product on the field. And it's like, you just can't wait. It's like coming down the stairs for Christmas, right?
Absolutely. I saw a post from Ozzie Guillen, and he was on the MLB Network show. And I said, Feliz Navidad, Ozzie, because it's Christmas Day as far as baseball fans all over North America for sure. You grew up in the Windy City area, Lou. You were a great athlete in lots of different sports. Do you remember when you knew baseball was the thing and it was time to put down the other sports and focus on the one?
I thought, I thought at like a pretty young age that I just fell in love with the game. And it was all because of my dad. My dad loved, we went to the White Sox games And every time I walked in Comiskey Park, it was just like, it was like I was walking, I don't know, it was the best feeling I've ever, every time I walked up the aisle, I just get goosebumps. And it wasn't the same feeling when I went to the Chicago Stadium to watch the Bulls or the Blackhawks. It wasn't the same feeling when I went to the Bears. So looking back at it, I think I knew early on that it was my favorite sport, and something that and then, when I started to realize that I was, better at baseball than the other sports, and I probably, could probably take it a little further. But, I didn't really focus like solely on baseball till, I got to college. So it was, and I think, that was good. And I look back, it kept me athletic, and it was something that, we didn't have the facility to do it year round, right? We didn't. So maybe if we did, I probably would have started a lot earlier. But, that's just wasn't the case back then. And, times have changed, but I think at a young age, but like just knowing that the goosebumps were different when I walked into Comiskey Park.
Yeah, no doubt. June 1990, you obviously knew at that point you'd made a good decision when the San Francisco Giants called your name. You must remember it. I'm sure you shared it with your dad. Obviously, you had a tremendous relationship surrounded by baseball with him. Talk about the experience of hearing your name called and knowing that your dream was about to be realized.
Obviously, it was something that I dreamed of, and I had it. I've been playing it over how I'm going to react. And funny story is I didn't get a call. I didn't actually waiting for the I thought I didn't get drafted, and I was like, wow, I can't. All right, going back to school, and then I got a telegram. Back then, it was a thing, in the mail, and it was, and I still have it. And then all of a sudden, and then like literally about 2 hours after I got the telegram, like 2 days later, after the draft, I had, I got a call from Bob Cummings, who I had known from, he's from my area. He spoke at our Little League because he played pro ball, and he called me and he said, "Hey, Lou, this is Bob Cummings. We drafted you in the 29th round." And I couldn't wait I'm like, "When are you coming over?" I want to get on a plane and go. And, just really cool to share with my mom, my dad. They knew how much I wanted it. My brother, my sister. But, it was, I look back and that was a long time ago.
Well, you mentioned telegrams, so for sure. Yeah, I don't know when the last time a telegram was sent in our world, for sure, buddy. You spent 5 years grinding it out in the MLB, and then the first kind of big happening in your life, the trade to the Expos. You're still a young guy. You're finding your way. What's it like to know that one team may be moving on from you, but there's another team that wants you, and that you kind of play off that trade and how it's going to affect your life, and the fact that you're going to Montreal of all places?
I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I think it was my third season going there, and I got the AA. Like AA's, it's pretty hard to get the AA back then. So when you got the AA, you were close, especially with the Giants. The Giants were calling guys up from AA a lot of times, and they used AAA as like a shuttle. When they sent guys down, they'd send them to AAA. But they were calling guys up from AA, so I go into the field one day, and our manager calls me in, and I wasn't having a very good year. I was kind of in the bullpen, spot start here and there, and he says, I got some good news and I got some bad news. And his name is Ron Wotus. He's the third base coach for the Giants to this day. He's still with the Giants organization. Huge influence on my career. And he said, you know, you want the good news or bad news? I was like, give me the bad news first. He's like, you got traded. And he's like, good news. He's like, Montreal. So, you know, I'm excited, sad because I had Ron for a couple of years, and my teammates. I was on the 40-man roster with the Giants, so you know, easy call up to the big leagues if you're in AA, right? They don't have to clear a roster spot. And then, so I get, you know, pack up my stuff, and I literally leave the next day and on a flight to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the AA team, with the Expos. I get there probably 7 o'clock at night. They tell me I go to the field. I go to the game. By the time I get there, the game's just ending. Meet some of the guys, and go back to my hotel room. And then I get a call from the minor league director for the Montreal Expos, Bill Guyvet, and he says, "Welcome to the organization, but we had to take you off the 40-man roster to clear a spot to the guy we were calling up." So I didn't really know at the time what that meant, right? So what it meant was that I can't play for 72 hours because I have to go through waivers. So he explained it to me, and I go, so you're saying that I could be in another city if somebody claims me on waivers? He's like, yes. Long story short, I clear waivers and end up, you know, sticking the rest of the season with Montreal, and then I end up playing with them for 2 years. And once I got to spring training with them, I realized it was the wrong organization to be with, because I've never seen that many good arms and that much talent in a minor league organization. You know, Vladdy Guerrero is, you know, 19. Everybody stopped to watch infield, and he's throwing the ball from the outfield all the way to home on a fly on a line. So great experience, and, you know, a chance to open some new eyes. But probably I was pretty happy when, you know, I ended up getting out of that organization, because it was the best thing, because I don't think I was going anywhere with that organization.
You know, it's interesting. I want to get into that group that you ended up playing with in their organization. But before that happened, I've always been curious about the mindset of Americans that get traded or sign with Canadian teams. Is there a group sort of thought that you don't want to go across the border? And obviously there's only one team left, but back then with the two, are Americans adverse to crossing the border and playing for the Canadian teams as a rule? Absolutely not. A big league team is a big league team. Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like my friends always used to tell, like, you know, my family and stuff, we grew up White Sox fans, were like, what if you get drafted by the Cubs? I was like, well, guess what? I don't care. Somebody's going to give me a chance. That was the bottom line. Is like, you do this for a living, and you want to get to the big leagues. You know, everybody dreams of the Derek Jeter careers, right? Playing for one team, riding off into the sunset. But it doesn't happen, right? It's so yeah, no, it was it's and that's that's a thing that you develop over the course of your career, is just you gotta adapt. You gotta adapt. You gotta adapt, and if you don't, you're not gonna play for very long. So it didn't matter. Yeah. It didn't matter where I was at.
As it turns out, you ended up having a couple of really fun years playing with the Expos organization, because you won a championship, right?
Yeah.
At the minor league level, played with some incredible talent, and as it turns out, the first of a few championships in your life.
Yeah.
That one being pretty cool. Talk about some of the guys that Canadians would know from that. You already mentioned Vladdy. I'm sure there's others as well.
Oh, our Harrisburg team was stacked. Like, it was realistically, up until the World Series team, when you look at, like, it was one of the most talented team I've ever been on. We had Vladimir Guerrero, we had Jose Vidro, we had Bobby Henley, who's now he's the third base coach with the Nationals. We had Javier Vasquez, we had Orlando Holbert Cabrera. Charlie Montoya was on my team, the manager of the Blue Jays. Who else? Duran Stovall. There were so many guys that played Israel Alcantara. That was he's famous for the drop kick and the catcher YouTube video when he charged the mound. And pitchers, Tommy Phelps. I might have been the only guy that didn't get at least a cup of coffee with the Expos, because that team moved on, and we had me and a couple other guys that were went on into free agency, but that team was unbelievable. I remember facing in that playoffs that year, we faced Carl Pavano in the first game. We played. They had Nomar Garciaparra at short, and it was a Red Sox organization, and Pavano had like 3 complete game shutouts against us during the regular season, and he didn't make it out of the first inning. And then we ended up beating them, in 5 games. And then we play the Marlins in the championship of the Eastern League for the championship. And Levon Hernandez pitches the first game against us. And it was a Marlins team that was loaded with guys. So looking back and seeing some of the guys that you played against in the minor leagues, and just that year alone was incredible. But I mean, Vladimir Guerrero was you just knew right away, this is the best player you're ever going to play with. And Brad Fulmer was on that team, so the list goes on.
Yeah, that was certainly. I remember you showing me a picture one time of that group, and oh man, they were all over the place for sure. Spent some free agent time and settled with the Angels, where I guess it truly all began for you, Lou. You started to the meteoric rise through the minors and up to the Trappers at the time, a AAA club. Western Canadians have unbelievably fond memories of the PCL, me especially. I grew up on the coast, and my first job was at Nat Bailey Stadium. And, man, the Trappers, the Cannons, the Canadians, that league at that time was just awesome as far as minor leagues went. Talk about your time with the Trappers, because I'm sure you have fond memories. And again, the league was so good at that time that I think it was probably a pretty great experience for you. Yeah, no, it was, and the thing, the Angels were one of the teams that when I was going into free agency, after I got released by Montreal, I signed with St. Louis for that in August after that got released that summer, and then going into free agency that offseason, the Angels called me and asked, we get a minor league invite. I go there, pitch really well. Go to AA Midland, and then the next year they gave me an opportunity they got me a winter ball job in Venezuela, and then they got invited. I asked for a big league invite to spring training, pitched really well, and they gave me my first opportunity at AAA because I had kind of been stuck since my first full season in pro ball. I had been in AA, which I just couldn't get out of it. So, they gave me the opportunity to pitch in AAA. And then, get to AAA and you realize how close you are, trying to make the most of it and trying to string together some good quality starts. I was lucky enough to, be in the starting rotation. Played for a great manager, Carney Lansford, who, just wanted you to go out there with, let you fail, leave you in there too long sometimes, but he was teaching you that you got to compete no matter what. And that was, early on in the season, I took my lumps, and then I really strung together a bunch of starts. And then in August, I ended up getting called up. But Edmonton is by far one of my favorite cities to play in. And, something that fans were awesome. I loved the atmosphere. I loved, playing in Calgary, trying to get that sense of a little bit of a rivalry that they have with the hockey. And then, being able to go into, Vancouver, probably the best ballpark to pitch in the PCL. Back then it was, you had, really big park, ball didn't carry. So, just I love the PCL. I loved it. It was new cities for me after seeing the same cities for about 7 years. I just couldn't wait, and I actually and absolutely loved my time in there. Yeah, one of the things Rietsma talked about, Chris Rietsma, coming up later in the show during the interview was AAA was the first kind of big league experience, right? You're starting to ride planes instead of buses. You're getting treated right in the clubhouse after games. All the sort of the nice touches that come along with big league ball. And man, the PCL did it right for sure. It was an amazing league at that time. It's a shame that it went south, and now there's a single A club in Vancouver and not much else up in this region, because man, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver were amazing supporters of baseball back then.
Yeah, for sure. And Chris hit it on that. It's it's the you're flying, especially being up in Edmonton, Calgary, leaving really early. But it's the first kind of taste that you're going to get to what it's going to be like in the big leagues, right? And at the same time, you're playing with older guys. I think I was 26 at the time when I got there. I'm playing with guys that are, mid 30s, and then you're going to learn a lot from them, but you're also going to get some of those veteran guys that you start to see where it's a business, and I didn't have a family at the time, so you start to see that other guys getting called up. You start to see players' true colors, right? They think that, and rightfully so. Maybe they think they should be the guy called up, but you just be happy for the guy that's going up. And but I seen some stuff that year that was that opened my eyes and taught me how to act and in certain situations, and it just prepared. In each level in the minor leagues, that's what it does. It just prepares you for if you get the opportunity. But a lot of it's to prepare to face with adversity in life, because it's not easy. It's not an easy road.
Interesting thing about AAA is the one level where there's guys on the way up and guys on the way down.
Yeah.
You're kind of meeting them in the middle. Most of the other ones are everybody's on their way up. So getting some veteran guys like you said, and kids that are highly touted, and even guys on rehab assignments, out of the bigs, and they come down for a cup of coffee and a little bit of extra work. August 99, the day you had waited for, for probably a good portion of your life. And you mentioned Carney Lansford, legendary third baseman from the Angels, that gave you the news, and it came on a pretty special day. Give us the backstory on the day you found out you were on your way to the big time.
Yeah, it was actually, I had actually pitched the night before, and we were in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if I remember correctly, I was pitching really good. And I think in the seventh inning, I gave up a grand slam. So I ended up getting a no decision, but I pitched really good. And then me and a couple guys after the game, we go to a restaurant for dinner, have a couple of drinks. I get back to the hotel probably around midnight, and my hotel light on my phone's blinking. So I pick up the phone, and it's a message from Carney Lansford saying, "Hey Luke, it's Carney. Give me a call." But a couple of weeks before that, there had been some pranks going around with one of the guys on the team who had already been in the big leagues for a while. So I call Carney in his room, and I don't even, it doesn't even cross my mind yet, what I'm calling him about. I was like, my God, what is this for? And he called me, he goes, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "Here's the deal." And he goes, "Anaheim needs you, and Anaheim is calling you up, and they need you there tomorrow. They're releasing Jack McDowell, who was one of my favorite pitchers." So, so I was like, "Hey, can I call you back?" So I hang up the phone, and I call him back, and he's like, "You deserve this." And I was like, "All right." And he goes, "Trainer's going to give you the information. So go to the airport the next day." My first phone call was to my mom and dad. Probably one of the best moments of my life, just being able to share that with them. And it was, I can't even explain, like just hearing my mom yell. My dad gets quiet. Probably, I'm sure he was emotional, but he'll deny it. But it was, it was awesome, man, because, without them, supporting me through 9 years in the minors, it's not easy. And, there's a lot of times you go through, and they were the first phone call to kind of pick me up when things weren't going that good. So it was, it was just an awesome, I wish I could make that phone call 1,000 more times just to go through it again. It was pretty cool. And then I end up, I go to the airport with the team the next day, and then they go this way back to Edmonton, and I go that way, and then, getting off the plane in LAX, taking a cab. And then I remember on the highway when I first saw Angel Stadium, I was like, that's the first time I was like, got butterflies, got a little bit emotional going, I can't believe that's my stadium. So it was, unbelievable feeling.
Do you, I'm sure you do, but give us some insight. The first time you step on the bump in game action at the big league level, are you overwhelmed with nerves? Are you just excited and ready to show your stuff? What goes through your head the first time you toe the rubber at the big league level?
I was actually more nervous, like just the anticipation leading up to, because I was a starter in AAA that year, and then when I got there the first day and I got in the dugout, and Terry Collins was like, "Hey, you're going to go. I'm going to use you out of the bullpen right away, and then you might start, but." So I was like, "You could have told me to catch, and I would, whatever." But I was, I think it was the next day. I got the phone rang, and they said, "Potter, get up." Joe Coleman, I remember our bullpen coach, get up. I started throwing first 2 throws off the rocks into center field. I wish there was a gun because it might have been 100. And, got to call timeout. They got to throw the ball back in. And after that, I just remember the first 2 throws and then it was just so fast. And I remember Troy Percival telling me not to grab the fence, the padding on the fence, because it makes your hand slick. So if the guy's not there to open the gate for you when you go into the game, don't grab the padding because they armor all it and it makes your hand slick. So, they tell me I'm in the game. I walk down. As soon as I got through that stage of not grabbing the armor all and I ran out there, I was 100% completely fine. And Terry Collins gets me the ball. He's like, nobody out, second and third. And he says, there's only you only make one debut. Remember it and enjoy it. I was like, all right. And
great thing to say to you.
My first hitter was Richie Sexton. We're playing the Indians when the Indians were stacked. The first hitter is Richie Sexton. Matt Wallbeck's my catcher. He says to me, 1-2 wiggle. Man on second, we're going to go second sign, shake second. I'm like, all right. And he goes, hey, if it's a close pitch, do not show the umpire up. All right. First pitch, I felt like it was right down the middle. Richie Sexton's a big guy, whatever, down. Ball 1. Ball 2 is pretty close, and then ball 3 is not even close. And then I throw a fastball right to, middle in, break his bat, ground ball to short, checks the runner at third. And then, the next 2 hitters, I struck out the next guy, and then I got a pop up in the infield, and I got out of it. Awesome. Pitched the next inning, 1, 2, 3. And then Terry Collins goes, that's it, man. I was like, all right. And as soon as he said that, I can't believe I just went 2 scoreless innings in my MLB debut. Sat down, and he goes, hey, hold on. You feel good? And I was like, yeah. He goes, you're going to go back out. All right. Warm up. First pitch curveball, Manny Ramirez over both bullpens. So we were down 2-1. He hits the home run, makes it 3-1. We score a run in the next inning, so we lose 3-2. I got a no decision, but I look back on it. It was a pretty good debut and a very long home run by an unbelievable hitter.
Yeah, you weren't the only guy that Manny took over both bullpens in his career. That's for sure. That's a great story, buddy. Just awesome. 2000, you kind of shuttled a little bit back and forth, and you actually closed for a while. I just want to ask you, Lou, what kind of different mentality do you need to throw the ninth? Because everything's on you. It's a completely different mindset. I'm curious to know, as you got 12 saves, had a pretty good season doing it. So how did you have to change the way you thought throwing the ninth?
It's, you hear it from closers, like the last 3 outs of the game are the hardest to get. And like it's mentally taxing. So it, like, for me, it was, I'm just trying to get ahead, not beat myself. And if they're, the other teams is gonna, they're gonna, hit me. I'm not gonna beat myself by walking guys. And it's more, the adrenaline's a little bit higher, so you really got to control it right away. We're starting, you get that adrenaline in the first inning, but there's time you have time to settle in. The biggest thing for me was just figuring out I needed what pitch I was going to be my secondary pitch that day, right? Sometimes, my split was really good in the bullpen, and my curveball wasn't. Who was I facing, and knowing who you're facing, like I thought I recognized lineups a little bit better, who was coming up the next inning, and then in the big leagues when you do it, because I closed a little bit my first year in the big leagues. They're telling you, where in the minor leagues you don't know who's on the bench, right? Like, you don't have a bullpen coach down there telling you. So in that aspect, it's a little bit easier. But until you get out there, the last 3 outs of the game it's mentally taxing, because everybody's counting on you, and then to understand that you're going to fail sometimes. But you have to put it behind you, because you're probably going to be out there the next night. Which I really enjoyed, because it was something that, and I think everybody that competes enjoys. You want to get back out there, regardless if you didn't get the job done.
Yeah, if you have a tough start, you got 4 days until you get to retake the bump, and you have to think about it for those 4 days waiting for that next start. So yeah, you're right. As a closer, maybe next night, maybe 3 nights in a row where you get to do it over and over. You got settled in with the big club, and enjoyed some success for sure. And I know you have a couple of great stories that I'd love to share with the audience. You got to tell the Edgar story, because it's legendary. Made me laugh as hard as I have in a long time the first time I heard it. So talk about the Hall of Famer and how that came about.
Yeah, I think it was 2001. I think it was 2001. We're playing, we're at home against Seattle, and we get down to the bullpen before the game, and I remember we did a really good job with him that year, but we also pitched him inside a lot. And I remember one of I think it was Jeff Nelson telling Percival down in the bullpen, he's like, "Hey, Edgar said if he gets knocked down again, he's charging." And we had Ramon Ortiz pitching that night, and he always threw him in and knocked him down and did pretty well. And we held him in check pretty much for the most part that year. So I come into the game, and I was pretty successful against him. And I would either start him out with cutter away, or two-seamer, backdoor two-seamer, or hard two-seamer in and up. And they call Benji Molina calls fastball in, and I throw a fastball in, and I think it was 0-0. I'm not 100% sure what the count was, but I think it was an 0-0 count, and first pitch to him, and I throw a fastball two seam, and he must have been looking away. He dives to go out to get it, and it runs back in, and it started middle, and it hits him in the hand, and then it hits him in the face, and he goes down. Like somebody shot him, right? And you get hit in the face with a ball, it's gonna affect you. So so he goes down, and at the time it felt, and I'm just trying to get a new ball. Like I'm I'm yelling at the umpire, and I'm kind of walking towards, and all of a sudden he gets up and he's running and he's sprinting at me, and I just drop my glove and he's yelling 5 times, 5 times, 5 times, and and it was like he's not the fastest guy in the world, so like it just felt slow motion, and I see Benji's the second slowest guy, or maybe the slowest guy in baseball, and Edgar's the second slowest. So Benji's chasing him, and next thing you know, like swing, I swing, and then all I know is I got probably, I got 2 teams like on me, and then I can't move. So I'm trying to move, and I'm like letting go, and then fighting it, let me go. And I'm like, I don't even know I just can see a gray jersey. And then the guy's like, relax, dude, super deep voice. He's like, you just got charged by the nicest man in baseball. And it was Jay Buhner. So,
awesome.
Yeah, so I think there was a runner on first. So then, I hit him, and I didn't get thrown out of the game. He got thrown out of the game. I had to go get a new jersey because I had no buttons on my jersey left. I go back out there, throw a couple warm-up pitches, and then first pitch to Olerud, double, bases clearing double. Oh. So,
For those who don't know, the one and only time in his career, I think, that Edgar charged the mound was against Lou Pote. So I'm not sure which is more awesome. The fact that Benji Molina is trying to catch Edgar Martinez as they're both running towards you, or the fact that the mammoth Jay Buhner just wraps you up and puts you basically in a coma while the fight's going on.
Yeah, and he was, and it was just funny because he's calling me dude. He's like, dude, relax. And I couldn't move, man. I was like, what? I was trying to figure out what had me, because it was, I literally couldn't move, and it was like, I'm not the strongest person I couldn't move at all.
Well, Buhner is a giant man, no question about it. 0-2, Lou, you reached the pinnacle of the sport. Regardless of postseason playing time, you were a big part of that group, big part of that team. You had 31 appearances during the regular season, 50 innings, over 50 innings, and clearly were a big part of it. So, just give us a real basic idea of, man, what it's like to reach the pinnacle of sport, the World Series champs, and everything that goes along with winning a title at that level.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was cool because, from 99 to 2000, 2001, 2002, each year we got a little, 2000 we went to September and we're still kind of in the playoff hunt. 2001, a little bit deeper into September. And then 2002, we had traded Mo Vaughn, got Kevin Appier, had the right pieces, the right chemistry. And it was, the cool thing is, like, every year Socia, would say, whether he was, just saying it, but, we have all the pieces in the first day of spring training. We have all the pieces to be hoisting a trophy at the end of the year. If you're willing, you got to check your ego at the door. It's going to take 40 people in this room, 40-man roster, and it might take more than that. So I always remember that. And then, that season, I early on in the season, I pitched really well. And then I went through, a couple of weeks where I just wasn't throwing the ball very well. And, we had guys ready to go in the minor leagues. We had, Brendan Donnelly coming up, Scott Shields, so, and that was the cool thing, is starter went down. We brought up a starter, John Lackey, come up for one start, pitches, his tail off in Texas, and then gets sent down after the game to go back to AAA. And then, I think 2 weeks later, he comes up and he's there to stay. Francisco Rodriguez comes up in September, and and that's that was the cool thing, is nobody wanted any of the credit, and whoever you got there, you were there to help. When I came back up, I was there to take pressure off guys to getting ready for, the playoffs, to get some guys rest. And, I end up pitching some, pretty good innings at the end. And, so that was my, you just understand your role, and you always knew your role there. I really appreciated. And, you got to look in the mirror, and I understood that. What was best for the team? There was nobody complaining that they didn't get put on the roster. And, we just wanted to win because we enjoyed everybody. And then if we got an opportunity to get added to the roster, we had to be ready. So that was a really cool thing. And it was just a special group of nobody wanted any credit. Just put your boots on and grind it, man. And it was a fun team. It was a fun team. We came back from a lot of games. First series against the Yankees, nobody thought we could do it. But us, because we had, in like the past 5 years, the best record against the Yankees in a 5-year span in the American League. And then, the Twins were, the Twins were really good. And then we just, we kept it rolling. And then, same thing with the Giants, in the World Series. So just couldn't be happier to do it with the guys we did, because we had been together for a couple of years. And experienced getting closer, and then finally getting it done. So, and it's something you always dream about as a kid.
You so fortunate, right, to be included in a group like that was so tight and actually got to the top, because there's so many guys that play their entire careers, and some legendary careers that never sniff it, never get there. It's amazing to do. And I'm sure, again, something that, stick with you forever. There's no question about it. 03, you moved on to something probably you would never have expected you were going to do. Probably the toughest decision you ever had to make. You're going to pack up and head overseas and play in the Japanese League. What was that experience like? What was the toughest part? And did you think you were going to be there for a while, or was it, just kind of a quick cup of coffee and back in your mind?
Yeah, so I got a call from my agent, and like the year I was in Edmonton, I had a team from Japan come and watch me pitch a couple games, and one of our farm directors told me about it. And I actually thought that year that I was going to sign. After playing 9 years, my goal was always to play in the big leagues, but getting older, and I was like, if at the time, if I got the Japanese team wanted to sign me, and I'd go over there for the rest of this year, and then I'd come back and make it to the big leagues, whatever. After a World Series, like my agent calls me, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, I'm going to come into town, talk to you guys," and he says, "Would you be interested in going to Japan?" And I was like, "What?" Now, after this, I understand I'm going to have to earn, fight for a job in spring training. And then it happened pretty quick after that. And then, we finally agreed on things, and I had to get taken off the 40-man roster I had to get my release from the Angels, and they were great. Bill Stoneman, our general manager, I remember calling him. I said, "I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I need you to take me off the 40-man roster because you have the opportunity to make a lot of money. Especially if you're not in arbitration, not coming off a good year, there's a lot of things that factor into it. So it was something that I couldn't turn down, and I was looking forward to. So they end up signing me, and then I I fly to Beverly Hills, go to the Beverly Hills hotel, meet with the team representative, and sign my contract, and then. The biggest difference was when I left, February 27th for spring training. The spring training in Japan is an unbelievable experience, to say the least. If you see the movie Mr. Baseball, it is dead on. It is our spring training was in Okinawa. So we stayed right on the beach. We had spring practice started at 9, didn't get over till basically 6 o'clock.
Wow.
Hot, like the weather was unbelievably hot, and then but an unbelievable experience. So the first month in Japan, you play, spring training is all conditioning and getting your arm and body in shape, dragging tires, running hills, like some stuff that I never expected I'd ever do. And then you go to another month of spring training games. Pitched unbelievable in spring training. Season starts and apparently I forgot how to pitch, or I couldn't get anybody out. So didn't pitch well. Went down to the minor league team down there. There was only one minor league team in Japan, and then pitched there for a little bit, and then went back up, and was hit or miss. It was just learned a lot about myself, especially how bad I could pitch for consecutive months. But an unbelievable experience for didn't have, it was just me and Aaron at the time, and then didn't have a family at the time, other than a wife, and unbelievable experience because being sent down to the minors allowed me to spend a lot of time in different cities and tour the country and do a lot of things that you're not used to doing, and just to be a part of their culture was awesome, man. And the Japanese fans are insane. It's like going to a concert, so it was an unbelievable experience. Unbelievable experience.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm sure you're glad you did it. Like you said, you got to experience a completely different world. Passionate fans, a different game, even if it didn't go as well as you'd hoped. Certainly something you probably look back on pretty fondly. Back to the North American world, and kind of a whole different thing. Clearly, the Edmonton Cracker Cats belong in the nickname Hall of Fame, without question.
Yeah,
one of the best names I've ever heard. A couple of buddies got you to do that. We'll touch on that real quick, but I really wanted to get into the Capitals because what an experience. Edmonton Oilers CEO Daryl Cates owns the team. You guys go on an amazing run. You win a championship again, so now it's becoming regular thing for you to win championships. You win postseason MVP. What a hell of a way to wind your career down as a player. Just an awesome experience, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was. The Capitals coming from the Cracker Cats to the Capitals was two people in the front office with the Cracker Cats, and then the Oilers buy the team, and like just first class. Like that was like being in the big leagues as far as way you're treated, travel, all that stuff, compared to what independent league life is really about, is how it's actually goes. It was first class. Like it was awesome, and it was 3 years. Awesome 3 years for me to be able to play in front of friends and family. And then on top of that, play with an amazing group of guys that, I still keep in touch with to this day. And same thing, we had a great group of guys. Not a lot of changeover with guys getting released. Guys that weren't having good years started, just started being role players and accepted it. And, and the culmination was, I was the old guy in my last year. And leading up to the playoffs, I wasn't pitching very well. And when, I pitched game one and I didn't expect to. And then, we had two other guys that were more deserving than me. And, I just got hot at the right time. But it was, my two games, I pitched really well and we scored a lot of runs so early in the game. So it was easy to kind of settle into the game. And, when, MVP, I think I always say it's just because they gave it to the oldest guy on the field, happened to do pretty good in the series. He could have happened to about 10 other guys on that team during that series, but just an awesome way to go out. And, my last game, I remember I get come off the field, get standing O, and that was the first time I ever got a standing O. And it was like just, great crowd and it was cool. I've never experienced that before. So it was awesome and, just a great way to end it. And, just great fans in Edmonton and they'd seen me in 3 different teams in that city. So it was really special.
Yeah, another great example of baseball fans in Alberta and how great they've been for, God, a long time, man. It's a great province for baseball. There's no doubt about it. There you're done. You're done playing, and the coaching ranks are clearly ready. You're ready to do so. How in the world do you end up in Fort McMurray, Alberta?
Good friend. I'd gone up there and done some camps with a good friend of mine, Reggie Rivard, who's from Bonnyville, who I played with. And he actually would play with the Vipers, and then go as soon as the season was over. He goes up there and he was running it, and I got to know a lot of the people up there. And he was moving on to, changing careers, and he asked me if I was interested in it in my last year. So I was, obviously, to stay in baseball. It was an unbelievable experience. I'd been up there before, been in the community, knew a lot of people. So once they offered me a job, I accepted it, and it was 2 great years. It's the community. Nobody's from there. Everybody moves there, and but just an unbelievable community support for their baseball program. And I had the best 2 years up there, trying to pass on some knowledge and passion for the game, running the high school academy and with minor ball. And that was a really hard decision for me, because I loved it up there. I loved the job. I loved the people. I loved the community, and it was something that it was great. It was great, and I keep in touch with a lot of still have tons of friends up there, and I love seeing the kids that were 6 years old when I left, that I worked with, and now seeing them still playing baseball and enjoying the game, and some of them are in college now, so it's just awesome.
Yeah, you left a indelible impact up there, no question, Lou. Sherwood Park followed, and but the call to Okotoks was strong, obviously. I vividly remember your arrival in this town. I was coaching Outlaws at the time, and there was a big buzz in the building about the incoming Potes, because not only were we getting a former World Series champ, major league pitcher in the organization, but actually because of your kids as well. And in the Outlaws program, everyone knew Connor and Owen Pote were coming, and so there was a real buzz. Can you sort of remember what the family feeling was like, whether you were settling into potentially what was going to be a long-term situation, what drew you to the Dogs, and how excited were you to be coming down to this unbelievable organization?
Oh, it was. I look back on it, and I remember the first time where I was like, I'm going to eventually be here. And it wasn't for me. It was, I was thinking more if my kids, enjoy baseball, and, they weren't in baseball at the time when I went to, Fort Mac. So, they're just getting into it. And you don't know if they're just something that they're going to love, but, we shared, a love for it. And the first time I came here when I was at Fort McMurray, we came for provincials. It was like, yeah, I'll be here soon at some point. And it was mainly because, my kids, I wanted the best, program for my guys, if that's what they wanted to pursue, is baseball. And yeah, the first time I came here, I was just blown away. I knew Frank Ingram, I knew Alan Cox, and once I started talking, I called Alan. I remember the phone call. He's like, "That's funny. We were just talking about you." And I was like, he's like, "What's up?" And I was like, I just saw you guys posted you're looking for a coach. I'm seriously interested." And he's like, "Absolutely." And it went pretty quick from there. Once we kind of settled on some things and a timeline of when I could start, and it was awesome, and it was and I couldn't be happier to have Connor's still playing, and but for my guys to be have the chance to be coached by other coaches and not dad all the time, and having that trust and the opportunity to go as far as they want to go. So it was a no-brainer for me.
I was going to actually ask about that sort of separation, because we've all been involved in dad ball, which is a completely different entity, but you've experienced the academy situation and being a dad to, at the time, 2 kids in the program, and now 1 further, and quite a separation between the two. How did you manage that as an academy program that generally finds itself anti-dad ball, when you're actually kind of doing dad ball in the academy?
Well, if you ask both of them, that they knew what they're expected to do, and I was going to get on them the same way I was going to get on another kid that wasn't my son. So I just and I talked to him about it. My dad was the same way, right? My dad demanded more out of me at practice than and at times I felt like he was picking on me, but he didn't really explain it to me at the time, and then I kind of understood it. So I wanted to make sure that they understood that this is the way it's going to be. I'm your coach, not dad on the field, and then but that was one of the benefits of coming here is trusting, having the trust that our other coaches, and being perfectly happy with them, being hard on them, and then I just kind of take a step back, and then until I coached them, right? And they had, I'd coached them in Mosquito before, so it was the same dad, or it was the same coach on the field. It never changed when we got to the academy, so same expectations, give 100%, but it was.
Yeah, the greatest thing about the Dogs program to me, and something that Alan touched on in our interview, is that you're surrounded by amazing coaches at every level, and you could always pass off things to them and feel comfortable that they're getting equally amazing instruction from any of the 9 or 10 coaches in the Dogs program. Just want to touch on 2019, Lou, because it was, for lack of a better term, just a dream year in the world of Dogs baseball. You guys go undefeated with your son on the team. The Dogs college team win the WCBL championship. You guys go to Nashville, tour the #1 baseball facility in all of America. Again, you get to share that with your son. Just an unbelievable year in so many ways, and so many highlights to talk about. Give us just your memories of that season and everything Dogs baseball, which was just top of the charts in 19.
Yeah, it's like a special year for the program, for the organization. And, like I said it before with when I'm going over to the Angels World Series Championship and the Capitals Championship, same thing with the Expos organization. The group, our group, we had a special group, very talented for 15U, but very, very close. Like when, our last day in Oshawa, there was tears of, just, this is our last time together, right? Me and Alan included. It was a special moment, and you don't get that way if you're not that close. And it was just to see the relationships that the kids had and built throughout the year. We had an unbelievable year. Didn't finish the way we wanted to, but we played hard. We played hard, and that love for each other carried on through that last game. It wasn't like we just, we didn't play well. And they're 15-year-old kids, and it happens, right? It's baseball. Yeah, exactly. It's baseball. But it was, you kind of see that it all comes. It starts with a family, and then the college team winning the Wimble is same thing. It was a tight knit group from the coaching staff, front office, us as coaches in the academy, rooting them on and be sticking around for games. And we're playing in Edmonton or we're playing wherever and they're getting ready to clinch. And it's like, damn, we're not there, because you wanted to be a part of it and you wanted to see, because it's, you need that. You need that to win championships. It's always a special group to do that, to put it aside and to win a championship. I don't care what level it is, right? I don't care what level it is. It's not by luck. There's a lot of things that go right and a lot of really good people involved when that happens.
Yeah, no question, Lou. And one of the great ones you got to coach with that year, one of your best friends on the planet. And you mentioned at the end of Nationals, knowing that was the last time you were going to coach with Alan Cox. Just, speak a little bit about the man, just as great as he is, as we all know him to be, and the loss that you knew was coming as he was headed back down south.
Oh yeah, it was tough. I actually wasn't 100% sure that he was leaving, that he was gonna move on. Maybe it was because I didn't want him to leave, but
none of us.
At the same time, we were pretty emotional, and both of us are very not like pretty. It's gonna. So I kind of knew when maybe it's gonna happen, but. Just a great guy, great friend. Love his family. Learned a lot from. Made me laugh, and it was never a dull moment. It was, something that I'll keep in touch with him for the rest of our lives. It was, and it was one of the reasons why I came here, and just happy for him and his family, and on. We moved on and we still keep in touch, and just very fortunate that I got the opportunity to spend 6 years with him.
Yeah, he's happy, no question, as evidenced in the interview last week. Just he's tanned, he's happy, he's living on the beach, and even trying to get him to get to the golf course because he lives right there. I'm like, dude, it's Myrtle Beach. Get out on the golf course.
Yeah, funny thing, he told me, he goes, every time I talk to him, he's got something new, and he goes, I'm only eating desserts now. So I'm, good. He goes, I swear to God, I just eat desserts. I don't eat regular food. So, but that's Alan. He is pretty funny.
Matter of fact, for sure. 19 was amazing. 20, not so much. Obviously, the world has changed. We've had to shut down for lots of time. But one cool thing that came out of it, you got back on the bump. With the evolution of the alumni team, there was Lou Pote out there at the ripe old age, I won't even call it, but you were out there throwing live, and that was a lot of fun for a lot of people to watch. And one thing I recognized is that the competitive spirit never dies in a big league ball player.
Oh, no. And at the time I was 48, now I'm 49, so I'm proud of that. And I just, it's fun to get out there and compete. And it was awesome. Like I threw to LaRon and I threw to Gavin Logan. I'm throwing to a pro catcher, and, Gavin Logan's going to Oregon State, and, probably be a pro catcher one day too. So it was, it was just fun. I love competing against those guys. And I think, when you can actually do it, and show players that, it takes confidence. Doesn't matter how old you are. You believe in yourself, and you go out there, and and it takes it to another level when you can actually back it up when you're trying to coach it, coach kids, and they actually see you do it. And I remember I had some conversation with guys and saying, "Hey, you have way better stuff than me, and I just threw 3 scoreless innings." So that's, you need to expect it. So, but it was fun, man. It was awesome. I was like, come on, man. I hope the alumni, I think I was texting McFarland. I was like, oh, Mac, you can throw tomorrow. Show up tomorrow. We got enough pitchers here already. I'll throw, just so, obviously they're going to throw first to get their summer innings in. But when there was, Bruner had to leave early, I couldn't wait. It was so much fun.
No doubt, and a lot of fun for all of us to watch, man. It was awesome to see out there competing, regardless of the age. It was it was amazing, man.
Hey, trying to represent our age group and the parents in the crowd. You know, I wanted to do it well. I didn't want to get embarrassed.
Yeah, you bet, man. Onwards and upwards, 2021. I'm not sure if we'll get a season. Hopefully we will. There certainly seems as though they're looking at some kind of season. So give us a quick insight onto who we need to keep an eye on in the Dogs program as the young guys. As we always hear about all the guys signing the big deals at the big universities, and that's amazing, of course. But I want to hear about the young guys. Who we keeping our eyes on in the Dogs program 15U level?
Oh, we got, there's a lot of kids. I mean, it's, we got, I'm trying to think of guys right now. We got one of the younger Logans in the academy. He's on 15U. It's Bodie Bazillion. There's Ty Gertner, Leo Cote, Casey Levens. Especially on the black team, a little more advanced, but a lot of, we expect a lot out of those guys. And then on the, I think the big thing this year is there's going to be a little bit more physicality on the red team for our 15U group. We have a really good group, and I think, it's going to be, some really competitive games. And both teams will do really well. Hopefully, obviously, we expect to win provincials. Knock on wood, there are provincials. We know there's not nationals, but we're expecting some big things from those guys, and hopefully, a lot of those younger guys, first year guys, will keep developing and be ready to make the move up the next year to the black team.
Yeah, unfortunately, Baseball Canada just announced that Nationals would not be going on this year, and unfortunate because we were going to host. I know that, and the hopefully the chance we'll get again to do it in the future. But there's going to be some kind of season. We know that, and at the very least, the thing about the Dogs program is the teams are always able to inter-squad and get the best competition they're going to get anywhere. Regardless of travel time at that point. So, Lou Pote, it has been just awesome, man. I knew that you were going to rock this thing with great stories and amazing chat. So I just want to thank you for coming on. I've been wanting to do it for a while, my friend. And again, an amazing hour has gone by. And again, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Awesome.
Yeah. Cheers, man. We'll talk to you soon, Lou.
Okay.
Cheers. Oh, man, did I or did I not let you know that man could tell a story? Unbelievable stuff from my good friend Lou Pote. Hopefully we'll get him back on the show sooner than later because, yes, indeed, great stories, great stuff from a great guy. That was Lou Pote. Thanks to him for stopping by and chatting some Talkin' Ball with Bekks. Right after this, we're going to keep on rolling with another amazing guest, Chris Rietsma. Yeah, you bet. 7-year MLB veteran, also an unbelievable storyteller, standing by, waiting in the wings. We'll get to it right after this. As always, like to take a second to thank our partners and our sponsors, those that make it possible for this show to go on the air each and every Sunday. It's straightbet.net, the Baseball Observer, Tow All Rentals, our primary sponsors. Also, of course, we're partnered with Area Scouts Canada, ChrisHunt.online, and your friends at Next from the North. We've been hard on the baseball the last couple weeks, my friends, but next week we are going back to the big ball. That's right, the softball, the ladies, the big-time superstars of the softball world. We've got the captain of Team Canada national team going to the Olympic Summer Games in Tokyo. Victoria Hayward's going to come on by as our featured guest of the week. We've got Rian Melican, a D1 softball player from the greater Victoria area. And our future star of the week is Paige Simpson of Red Deer, who just may be on her way to a D1 scholarship herself. So tune in next week, next Sunday at 3 p.m. as we welcome 3 more incredible guests to Talkin' Ball with Bekks from Gap to Gap and Coast to Coast. You're Talkin' Ball with Bekks, and from Gap to Gap and Coast to Coast, it is time for our featured guest of the week. Somehow, week after week, we managed to elevate this show with more and more amazing people. Our featured guest of this week is no exception, my friends, and we are honored to welcome him to the show. He's a dual citizen, but we'll claim him as a Canuck for sure, because in 1996, fresh out of Calgary Christian High, he became the first Canadian to ever be drafted in the first round when he heard his name called 34th overall by the Boston Red Sox. In 2001, he debuted with the Cincinnati Reds, and 3 years later, he set a record with 84 appearances for the playoff-bound Atlanta Braves. After one more stop with the Mariners, he shut it down and was inducted into the Alberta Sports Hall of Fame. I couldn't be more excited, friends, to welcome Canadian baseball legend, Mr. Chris Reitsma. Welcome to the show, sir. How are things?
Thanks for having me, Bekks. I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm in that. I think you might be overshooting me with your explanation of myself, but I really do appreciate you having me on, and I love talking ball, and so thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet, buddy. Let's have some fun. What do you say we get after it?
You bet.
Cool. Give us some insight into the current life of Chris Reitsma.
Well, it's been a little bit of an up and down road since I finished playing in 2008. I was able to play in the Olympics when I finally finished my career, which was awesome. And then after that, shut it down completely and came home and have a wife and 3 daughters. We live in Calgary. So I spent a little bit of time, doing some coaching with a national sport academy here in Calgary. I volunteered with the junior national team for a while, 5 or 6 years. And then since 2014, I've actually put my scouting hat on and done a bunch of work with a couple different organizations. And I'm currently with the Kansas City Royals and enjoying my time doing that. Obviously, this year's a little bit different without me being able to hop on the bird and go see players down there. But in years past, I've been able to go around and see the very top arms for the draft every year and break them down and rank them and be part of the draft rooms, which has been pretty cool. But this year's a little different, obviously.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wasn't aware of the scouting gig, and for guys like me that live and breathe this game, watching it, what a great opportunity. Playing it, of course, takes the cake, but to be able to put future kids potentially into that dream world is an amazing thing for sure. We're gonna get deep into it, obviously. Before we do, just hit it with one summarizing statement. Tell me Major League life, Chris Reitsma, in one sentence real quick, and we'll get into it way more detailed later.
I just blessed to be able to do it, man. I remember being a little kid and thinking, oh man, I think I can do that. And just to be able to get on, that field, that Major League field and play for as long as I did, honestly, man, the first thing that comes to my mind is blessed. And what a great game. Obviously you feel the same way, and just to be able to participate in that in any way is a blessing, and to be able to play on those fields was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have very, very fond memories of watching you throw. I will admit, sir, huge Jays fan from True and Blue, and of course the Spos as well with the hat on top. But I remember it very vividly watching you take the bump as well. Let's talk about the YYC for a bit, Chris. It's you were born in Minneapolis, obviously, or Minnesota. What brought the family north to the Prairie Capital? And talk a little bit about the early years in Calgary for you.
I was born in Minnesota. My dad was actually a pastor of a church, and so we moved around a little bit as a kid. I was born in Minneapolis, and then when I was 2, we moved to Fresno, California. Was there for the next 9 years. My dad grew up in Lacombe, Alberta, just north of Red Deer, central Alberta, and he had a calling to come home, and he wanted to come home, and they decided to move us to Calgary when I was 11 years old, back in 1988. And yeah, we moved up here and just kind of started putting down roots up here, and obviously, love being Canadian and love being everything I had to do with it. We had spent a lot of time up here as a kid, just visiting my dad's folks and stuff, so I was very familiar with where we were going and very comfortable with it. And from an early age, I really grasped onto it, and always really considered myself, definitely a Canadian in a lot of ways. And then as time went on, I actually married my high school sweetheart, who's born and raised in Calgary. And so we spent a bunch of time down the States traveling to different places where I was playing, obviously. And then when I was finished, it was a no-brainer to come back here. And honestly, I consider myself definitely a Canadian. If people give me that option, I definitely go that way. And I don't plan to move anytime soon. And I'm pretty happy to be in Cowtown. So.
An Albertan through and through, for sure. You love a good steak, then, obviously.
Absolutely.
You spent the high school years at Calgary Christian. Which organization did you play your ball at?
Well, I played in the Calgary Babe Ruth League, which was really the only league in Calgary at that point in time. And so I played here while coming through Calgary West Little League. I should back up. Calgary West Little League from age 12 to 15. And then Calgary Babe Ruth, and then Calgary Big League, ages 16 through 18. And then mixed in the Alberta team, provincial team, back in 1995, and then I made Team Canada as well there. But no high school baseball up here, obviously, and like most of the country, and just played in a local rec league and try to sharpen my skills that way.
Yeah, it's interesting, Chris, because things have changed so much on this landscape as far as Canadian baseball. There's academies everywhere, year-round stuff that indoor, outdoor. They're traveling to perfect game tournaments. They're being scouted on a regular basis. Give us some insight as to that time, because as you said, there was no high school baseball. You were playing Babe Ruth for most of it. How did you get noticed? The internet wasn't nearly what it is today. How did you get noticed down south?
It was interesting because obviously there was no internet back in 1994 and 95 and whatever, 96. But so basically, one day I was just a young kid. I was, I guess, 14 or 15 and playing for Calgary West Little League. And we started doing very well in the Prairie Championships and went to the Canadian Championships, and I actually pitched there. And I was always just kind of bigger, and I could just throw hard, and I loved it, and I could always throw strikes. Anyways, we won the Canadian Championship. Long story short, 15 years old, I went down to Kissimmee, Florida for the Senior League World Championships down there, and I threw the first ever no-hitter there. And some people were just like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, I mean, we weren't playing a good team, but I was like, "Yeah, I can do this, man." And then, I always loved the game. I watched every Blue Jay and Expo game I could. Came back, and I started getting some phone calls here and there from, just local people saying, like, "Are you really going to consider playing baseball more?" And I was a basketball player. My dad played basketball for the University of Alberta, and I was more of a basketball gym rat. But I always loved the game of baseball, and I always, my dad would always make fun of me because I was always watching. I was every night just watching. Tom Volk, who was the head of Major League Baseball Scouting Bureau back in the day, in 1994, he called me up, and it was this time of year in 1994 in April. And he said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "No, I have no idea." And he says, "I'm Tom Volk. I'm the head of Major League Scouting Bureau, and I represent all the Major League clubs. And I have heard you have a good arm, and we're going to do a talent evaluation camp in Red Deer, Alberta, next weekend. And we would love for you to show up." And so I told my mom, and I gave my mom this guy's phone number. I'm like, I don't know if this is real or what. And she's, we were totally green, man. We had no idea what was going on. And so she called him back. She's like, "Well, Chris has some basketball stuff." And Tom's like, "Hey, listen, he needs to be here, okay? Because if he's not going to be here, I need to see him. Everyone needs to see him." Well, so my mom was convinced. So we went up there, and it was a cold day in Red Deer, and I think I was the youngest one there. I must have been whatever, grade 10. And I showed up, and I ran the 60 and hopped on the mound, and I was 90 to 92 with the smooth motion and throwing strikes, and I was 6'4" and about $180, and they're like, "Whoa, there's projection, there's strength, there's arm speed." And then from there, kind of things went all over the place, making different Team Albertas and Team Canadas. And then my biggest break actually came was I was invited down to Cincinnati, Ohio for the Team One National Showcase in 1995, and I was the only Canadian ever invited. And I got down there, and it was a showcase tournament where you had like 100 of the top grade 11 students in the United States, and I was the only Canadian. So it was a big deal because we didn't have a lot of money. So my dad said, we're going to fly down there. We're going to do this. And those are the days with Eric Chavez and Matt White and Bobby C. and all these guys. I was like looking, I'd get Baseball America and read about all these guys. I'm like, now I got to play against them. This is awesome. Anyway, long story short, I threw 3 or 4 innings that trip and no hits, tons of punch outs, up to 94. And they're like, okay. So they ranked me as 3rd or 4th best prospect in that week. And then the phone just never stopped after that. So.
What an amazing story. I find it fascinating because the simplicity of your comment when the scout or the director saw you first, and his comment, in this world of rapsodo and spin rate and velo and all these things, his comment was, I think you throw pretty well. Let's see what you got. And that's kind of how far it went back then. You didn't have the stats like you have nowadays. So pretty neat that it turned out the way it did. You mentioned the hoops, Chris. Obviously in high school that was a big thing for you. Did you have a shot to play hoops, you think?
Yeah, I could have played in Bekks. I could have played in college. I probably wouldn't have played very much. I'm a 6'5" guy with relatively limited quick feet movement. I can shoot. I don't think I'd be able to guard at the next level. So I kind of knew that. I loved it. I would have been able to play at, I had some Division I looks offers, not big scholarships, just more like, you want to come check it out. I wouldn't have played, and I knew that at my calling card, my next step was baseball, and I was fine with that. But it always will hold a very good, big part of my heart for sure.
Yeah, such a challenge for many multi-sport athletes at a young age, and so many are told that at certain points you have to make the decision. But clearly, you did it both and did both well. Speak to how you managed that, how you were able to be excellent at 2 different sports and didn't have to make the decision that so many kids drop hockey, they drop basketball, they drop football in honor of baseball, but you didn't. So yeah, let us know how you managed that through high school.
Well, I think like you touched on it earlier about it being a different world. So I didn't have these academies to go to. I didn't have the opportunity to go and play for a baseball only academy. And so, it was basically playing for my high school, sports teams, and then working out and doing the extra stuff on the baseball side. So I chose to do all my extracurricular stuff with baseball because I kind of knew that was my spot. So I'd go all the camps I could go to, and I'd get indoors and throw extra and do whatever I could. But my dad always said, he said, listen, you need to be explosive on the mound. You need to be explosive. You need to be an athlete. And what a better way to do that than to play the game of basketball? And I completely agree with that. I mean, even I'm telling my daughters that, and I'm telling kids I'm coaching on the junior national team, if you can play another sport, do it. I think it's really important. It's going to train your body one way, train your mind one way, train your competitive ability in so many ways. I think it's important.
Yeah, no question. And as we see the league changing year after year, more and more athletes first and baseball talent maybe second. The John Kruk's of the world are certainly no longer the Bartolo Colons and such. So, important for sure for kids to continue to work through their other sports and become as athletic as they possibly can be. Obviously, it was the best decision to stay on the diamond. Your name was called in the 34th round or 34th spot of round 1. I apologize, by the Boston Red Sox. Can you remember where you were and how you reacted? Just that excitement level to hear your name called in the first round as the first Canadian. Did you know you were the first Canadian to get called in the first round?
I didn't know that until afterwards. Back in the day, obviously, we didn't have the internet. It wasn't on TV. If that would happen now, you could watch it go on down on TV to be like, wow, that's amazing. I remember I was in my living room with my parents, and literally whatever team would pick a kid, they'd actually have to call the landline of the kid and be like, hey, man, we took you with the whatever pick, right? So
what's a landline?
Yeah, exactly. So to lead up to it, the night before, I was getting phone calls from a couple different clubs saying, "Hey, we're thinking about taking you with our first pick in the first round, like 13th overall and 21st overall." And the Mets called me and said, "Hey, it's between you and another guy. If we take you with 13 overall, will you sign?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like let's get this done. Like I'm ready." And which was great to think about. But then when the phone didn't ring, and it was like, oh man, like I know this started a while ago. Like I'm like, oh, this is not good. So long story short, obviously those teams passed on me, and then I finally got taken. The phone finally rings. Meanwhile, in between that, the dentist would call and whatever. You get random phone calls, and I'd be like, "Is this it? Oh no, I don't have a molar. Come on, seriously." So finally, he called. Gary Racich with the Boston Red Sox and told me, and he said, "Hey, congratulations, we're really excited, and I'll be up in Calgary next week to try to, see if we can get this thing done." And I was just overjoyed. I remember just, tears of joy and pretty special moment. And then basically the media was in charge of telling me that it was the first Canadian ever taken in that round. And I was like, holy cow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No question. I'm super curious about that moment for anybody. And do you even notice the team at that point, or are you just overwhelmed with excitement that you're going to the league, and maybe the team is a bit of an afterthought at that point?
Well, the first question was, from my parents was, like, well, which team was it? And I said, "Oh, Boston." "Oh my goodness." And they're like, "Well, what pick?" And I'm like, I think they said 34. And then we looked at the chart. Yeah, 34. This is awesome. Yeah. So it was just one of those moments. We have it all on video. Like, it's not on iPhone or anything like that, but the old Super 8 video, we got that going. So I can show that to my girls.
VHS. Oh man, that is awesome. So you head down to Fort Myers for your first trip to spring training. Just a fish out of water, probably heading down to the Grapefruit League. Give us some insight as to what you were feeling heading to your first big league camp in Fort Myers, Florida.
Well, I mean, yeah, the first experience I had in Fort Myers was right after I signed. It was the day after I graduated high school. They flew me down to Boston, signed the contract, and went down there. And I played in the Gulf Coast League. And I remember I didn't know anybody. I was just like a fish out of water. This Canadian kid, like pasty white, down in Florida in the middle of the summer. And I was like, oh man, like I just want to keep my head above water. And I remember the first day, man, I get downstairs and I'm like so geeked up. Meanwhile, the Chicago Cubs had their Gulf Coast League affiliate in the same hotel that we did. Like we stayed in the same hotel, but I didn't know anybody. I hopped on the wrong bus. I hopped on the Chicago Cub bus. And they're like, "Hey man, we don't know you." I'm like, I don't know anybody. My name is Chris. I got drafted by my boss. We're like, "Dude, get off the bus. You're on the wrong bus." I'm like, "Oh, jeez, this is a bad start." Anyway, after that, everything kind of calmed down. I got to meet some people and started learning some Spanish, and was like, wow, this is the new world. Pretty special. So really, really good time. And then just delving into it and committing to it 100% and learning and weightlifting properly for the first time in my life. And getting the really good coaching. I'd never really had coaching. So it was like eyes and ears were open, man.
That is amazing. What a cool story about getting on the wrong bus. That's legendary stuff for sure. For those of us on the outside world, it seems like glamour and glitz all the time, but you spent 5 years toiling through the minor leagues. Talk to our listeners about the struggles, the grind of minor league baseball, traveling on buses instead of planes, and maybe not eating at 5-star restaurants, but certainly working your way through the progressions that you needed to. Just talk about minor league baseball life.
Well, I mean, it is definitely not glitz and glamour. There's no doubt. For me, it was based on injuries more than anything. It was terrible because I had come out of the gates pretty hot, and I was throwing the ball really well. And then June of my first minor league season, I broke my elbow right in half. My olecranon popped off. And so I had to have surgery to put pins in, surgery to put pins out. Next year I came back, tried to come back, and I had a stress fracture. So I missed like 2.5 years through that process. So a lot of it was just trying to get back on the field. And then finally, when I learned how to pitch again, trusted myself to stay healthy on the mound. Then the real grind starts, right? You're stuck in the spot in A-ball and just trying to, every day, just trying to, support your teammates and be a good teammate. And meanwhile, you're supposed to be better than them and move up, right? And you have to compete as well. So it is a grind. It's a lot of long bus rides. It's a lot of crappy hotels, a lot of crappy food, a lot of hotels in the middle of nowhere where you're just like, what am I doing with my life? But truthfully, it's a good time. It cannot be done for someone's entire life. There's no way, because it is a grind.
Yeah, amazing. So there are some journeyman guys that never progress past the AA level, and it's amazing that they do it as long as they do. I was fortunate enough to have maybe my best job of my life was as an 11-year-old. I was the full-time bat boy for the Vancouver Canadians, and at the time they were a AAA club. And so I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the AAA level is kind of the first time that you feel like you're part of that next level big league stuff, because, the players got treated very well. They all seemed very happy to me. I was 11 years old, so obviously it was overwhelming to say the least. But is that correct, that it's sort of AAA, you start to really feel like you're close to that big time?
Yeah, because you're playing in leagues that require plane travel, so you hop on the bird and get to the next spot. Like, obviously you're in commercial, you're not taking the big league flights or anything like that, but it does feel different because you're going to deal with a lot more fans in the stands. You're going to deal with more priority travel, and then you're obviously getting around guys that are getting called up, right? So you're just like, okay, I'm right there. It's the first part of my journey, probably the first 4 years of my minor league journey, was all in A-ball because I was hurt, and then I finally got healthy and kind of moved up the ladder really, really quick because I got healthy, and I got traded and right to the big league. So
yeah, I was just going to ask about the trade to the Reds, how that came about, and sort of what you felt like the first time being traded, sort of how that impacts you mentally and, even physically as you start to think about a whole new organization and how you fit into that group.
I was in Boston, right? So I was in the Red Sox minor league system, and I, like I said, finally coming off injury and finally being healthy. And so I was doing very well in the Eastern League, which is AA. But I was also playing for the Boston Red Sox, who at that time already had a big payroll, and they also weren't going to call up a young kid to come up during a playoff rush and try to help out. I felt like I was ready, but I was also probably third or fourth in line in the minor leagues based on the depth chart of what we had. So for me, I kind of saw that as, hey, like if I could get traded and someone was my sponsor out there to get me somewhere else that didn't have as much pitching, well, that's a good thing. So yeah, I get called in the office in Trenton, New Jersey, and they told me I'm going to the Cincinnati Reds, getting traded for Dante Bichette, Bo Bichette's father. So the Red Sox needed a right-handed power hitter, and the Reds were looking to shed payroll, and so they brought me over, and then they sent me home back to Calgary because it was the very end of the minor league season. Sent me back to Calgary for a couple of weeks, and then sent me to the Arizona Fall League, where I pitched very well there. And then the next spring, I made the Reds big league club.
Yeah, perfect segue. It's next question was going to be the idea of the 01 spring training. The new organization, the excitement as you knew you were on the precipice of stepping into the show. Did you know, first of all, that that was going to be the beginning of the next level for you? And talk about your mindset going into that spring, that you knew this is it. This is my time.
I think the Arizona Fall League, which I just talked about, was a big stepping stone for me because I proved that I could do it. And I had a 1.4, 1.5 ERA in the Fall League, so I did very well, and I was ready. And I felt like, this is a perfect opportunity to come into a new organization, work really hard that winter, come in great shape, and open some eyes. And I had a chip on my shoulder. I mean, I was the top prospect for the Red Sox for a couple of years before I kept on getting hurt. And I thought, people have forgot about me, and I had a chip on my shoulder. And I walked into that clubhouse and I said, I'm looking around. I got Barry Larkin and Ken Griffey Jr. and all these guys. And I'm like, I'm gonna just be as best I can possibly be, and whatever happens, happens. And so I kind of went in there with there's nothing to lose attitude, and threw the ball really well, and lo and behold, made the club that spring.
Yeah, just touch on real quick, Chris. The first time you make the opening day roster, is it a celebration? Is it a relief? Is it, what does that night look like when you don't have the red tag in the locker and you're heading out to the big show?
You know what? I'll never forget where I was. I was in Sarasota, Florida in the backfields, and I was throwing a bullpen because I had thrown 2 days previously. So I was just getting my work in, and Bob Boone, our manager, started walking towards me. I could see him coming towards me from across the field, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm with Don Gullett, our pitching coach, and Don doesn't say anything, and I could keep on throwing. He said, hey, stop for a second. And I'm thinking, okay, this is it. I'm probably getting sit down. And he just said, hey, man, just so you know, man, I just want to tell you what a pleasure it is to watch you this spring, and I want you on this club. You made the club. And I'll never forget that moment. I literally looked at him, and I was like, thank you. Like, I will not let you down. And I remember I just kind of stopped, and it was just shock. It was like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. So I looked at my pitching coach, and he's like, you got to finish throwing your bullpen before you go. I'm like, you're right. And it was, I don't remember the rest of the bullpen. I'm like, get it done. So
your velo was probably up about 3 or 4 miles an hour.
No. So anyways, I hopped and skipped off the mound, and I started basically walking back into the clubhouse and went to my trainer, and I said, there was no cell phones really, that like still 2001, and only certain guys had cell phones, and I didn't have the money for the cell phone. I was like, can I just use your landline again? I'm back to the landline. So called my dad, and he was my first call, and just, he was bawling and I was bawling, and then called. I just got married, so I called my wife. She's crying, and it was just a moment of pure like, wow, what a day. Yeah. And
to this day, is she still okay that you called Dad first?
Yeah, she brings it up once in a while, but she's pretty cool with my dad, so that's good.
Yeah, that's great. 3 years later, you become part of one of the best pitching staffs in the history of Major League Baseball. You head off to a very good Braves team with 3 of the greatest: Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, Chipper's there. Clearly some incredible memories working with those guys. Talk about what it was like to be around 3 of the greatest, literally the greatest to ever play this game.
Well, it's crazy because I missed them by a year, actually. I just played with Smoltz. Maddox and Glavine just had left. And
we got Smoltzy.
I got Smoltzy. Yeah, I got Smoltzy. And, walking into that clubhouse, they had won 11 titles in a row, or 12 titles in a row, like NL East titles, right? So I'm thinking, I got called in the office in Cincinnati, and they said, we're trading you. And I'm like, where's this going? And then they said Atlanta. I'm like, oh, good. Like, that's awesome. Like, I get to learn so much from these guys, and I don't have to face these guys, which is great because I had a pretty good club that year. We had Chipper Jones and Andrew Jones and Rafael Furcal and Marcus Giles and the JD Drew. The list goes on and on, right? So yeah, it was very fun to be there, to learn from these guys, to learn from a guy like Smoltz, who's honestly physically extremely gifted, but mentally how he is able to prepare every day and be able to be at his best it's amazing. And I learned a lot from him. So really, really cool time there. Got to go to the playoffs a couple times and pitch in a lot of games, which was fun. Yeah,
I hope you didn't play any golf with Smoltz.
I did. And it didn't go very well. In fact, I got to, I'll tell you a quick story. I got to a foursome. One day he calls me and says, hey, Reese, you want to play some golf? I'm like, yeah, because we were in the bullpen together and, developed a rapport. And he's like, hey, you want to play some golf? I said, sure. So Jeff Francoeur just got called up, and Chipper Jones and Smoltz were the other 3 in the foursome. So Smoltz, he's like, hey, I'll take Reitz, and Francoeur and Chipper were the other team, and we played. And we played skins, and all that stuff. And I thought I shot very well. Like, it was one of the better rounds of my life. Meanwhile, they had, I think I shot like an 84, and they were like all 72, 74. And then finally at the end, they're like, hey, man, you're a nice guy, but you're just not good enough to play with us. Sorry, man. I was like, oh. So that was my one and only opportunity to play. And I was like, man, no.
One and done. Oh, that is rough. Oh, man, that's good stuff. Good stuff. You made a remarkable 84 appearances in that season, Chris. Speak to, how you have to be mentally to be ready to go literally almost every night. How'd your arm feel as you went through that season? 84 appearances on the bump is just ridiculous, to say the least. And how'd you manage that season? It's incredible.
Yeah, and actually, if you look back, it was actually 100 appearances that year, because I think I had 12 in spring training, because the Reds were trying to get me traded. They didn't want to pay me, and so they put me out there every other day in spring training. I get traded to the Braves, and I get over there, and Bobby Cox's first comment to me is, "Hey, can you field your position?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, we're going to the backfields." So we went through all the bunt plays. We went through everything. We, talked about, moving our feet. He's like, "For big men, you move well. You're my guy. You're my 8th inning guy." I'm like, "Okay, that's great." He goes, "Just so you know what that means. If we're ahead by 3, ahead by 2, ahead by 1, tied, you're in the game every day." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And sure enough, 84 times later. And then after that, I actually went to Japan on the All-Star tour and had another 3 to get me to 100 appearances that year. So to answer your question, extremely difficult physically, more difficult mentally, because you get to the 5th inning every day and it's a tight game. I know I'm in, and just to be able to compete every day and say no to your pains and to say no to your aches and be like, "I'm the guy. I'm going to do this, and this is my job," was one of the things I take pride in. Is I never turn the ball down.
It's unbelievable, to say the least, Chris, for sure. Interesting you mentioned Bobby Cox, and I apologize that I don't remember the name, but one of the things from that long run that the Braves had, the relationship between Bobby and the pitching coach was legendary. And speak about working with that guy and just their camaraderie on the bench. It seemed like they were so in tune with each other. How was playing for that organization with those two guys at the top of the list?
Yeah, Leo Mazzoni was the pitching coach's name.
There it is.
Yeah, he was always the guy that would rock back and forth and always look really nice. They were on the same page, and they did one thing they did really well. A couple of things they did very well. They communicated very well, and they rooted for us very well. So I remember being up, and the first time I was ever pitching for the Braves, and all of a sudden I hear this guy's voice, "Come on, Richie, you're my guy. It was Bobby Cox." I'm like, "This is crazy. I've never had this before." He was like a grandfather cheerleader. It was awesome. But you didn't want to cross him either. He had rules, and you make sure that you get that stuff right, and make sure you follow the rules. But both those guys were in your corner, and they knew how hard the game was. They appreciated hard work. They appreciated effort. And they would never get mad at a physical failure. They would get mad at a mental mistake or whatever it might be. And for some reason, they kept putting me out there, Bekks, so I just kept on taking it and doing it.
You don't go on the run that they went on for division titles and playoff appearances that without structure and just excellence at every level. So cool experience. You head off to Seattle to kind of wind it down. And you play with some more first ballot guys, King Felix, Ichiro early on in his playing career, and Beltre. I've got to ask you about Beltre because for an outsider looking in, it appears that he is the ultimate character beyond anything else. You got to have a story or two about Beltre.
Beltre is one of my favorite teammates I've ever had. Extremely hard-nosed competitor, but at the same time, extremely fun. And a great teammate. He cared. And, one memory I have of Beltre is that I was in first couple weeks being there anyways. I threw a ball, chopper from a right-handed hitter. Beltre comes in from third, tries to bare hand play what he was so good at, and he bobbled it. And, the guy was safe, whatever. And I didn't think anything of it because I was like, there's no way anyone makes that play. And it's all good. Let's get out of it. So get back to the dugout. And he comes out and legitimately reads, "I am so sorry. That will never happen again. You understand me? Ever. Bring it to me. I want every ball hit to me. You understand me?" And he was serious. I'm like, "Belly, I got it. I'm okay. I'm not upset." But he was really, really special player.
No question. If he doesn't get voted by a couple guys, which will always happen in the Hall of Fame, it's a travesty because the man Oh, he played the game the right way for sure, beyond all else. As did Ichiro and King Felix for that as well. That was a nice team for sure. You came up on a fun nickname during your time there. You got to tell the story about how the Grim Reatsma came to pass.
Yeah, I guess all good stories have to, originate with someone being inebriated or some sort. But I was in New York City and playing the Yankees, and we're in the eighth inning. I get up and I get the phone call to get up and get up in the bullpen, and a drunk fan in Yankee Stadium that was hanging out by the bullpen saw my last name was Reatsma, and he thought it resembled Reaper, and so he just called me the Grim Reaper. Why are you looking so sad, Grim Reaper? Grim Reatsma. And anyway, so everyone started laughing. So soon enough, I was the Grim Reatsma, even though I don't think I'm a grim guy. But the fellow bullpen mates on my club thought it was pretty funny, and by the time we got back to Seattle, there was T-shirts made with my name and a Grim Reaper character with a Canadian flag and my number on the side of the jersey. So that's the story of the Grim Reaper.
That's a good one for sure. I will bet there's probably numerous players that have come through Yankee Stadium and have stories of less than sober people up in the stands calling down all kinds of different things. So you mentioned the injuries, Chris, and obviously that was a big part of the end of your career and for the most part a good part of the rest of your career. Obviously, nowadays we're hearing more and more about TJs. We're hearing more and more guys, that struggle with arm and elbow trouble early on in their careers as compared to the past. Talk about the perseverance you needed to stay up, throughout some pretty devastating injuries throughout your career.
Yeah, I mean, I think every athlete goes through times when physically they can't perform or they can't get through something, which is very difficult. I think it goes back to I just felt like it was such an honor to be playing the game, and I just thought I'm just giving myself every opportunity mentally and physically just to get through this. But it's a grind, right? Like all of a sudden the world kind of goes on without you, and no one really cares that you're hurt because the game is such a big game, and it's like, okay, who's next? And you have to continually fight to get back, and then there's a surgery, and I had 5 elbow surgeries, and that was the weak link, right? And it was just one battle after another. And I mean, the game's hard enough if you're healthy. The game's hard enough if you're someone that was a lot better than me. I was a very mediocre player in the grand scheme of things. But when you're a mediocre guy as it is, and then you have to deal with injuries, it's extremely hard. And those were the days where you're just like, okay, I got to battle, and I just got to be positive and just grind and grind and grind and grind.
Yeah, it's really something. I have a good friend of mine that's going through his second shoulder surgery at 17, and he is just the most talented kid beyond all else. And he's actually on earlier in the show, named Tag Weeder, and man, his mindset is amazing to me. That at 17, going through his second surgery already on the shoulder, and still persevering, still pushing to get to the next level. So. Amazing stuff. The pro career winds down, but you have 2 more major events. Got to talk about the 06 WBC and even more importantly, the 08 Olympics, Chris. Talk about the honor of pulling that jersey down, wearing the maple leaf, and going to really the pinnacle of sports, the Summer Olympic Games.
Yeah, it was such a blessing, right? Like I've been able to put the Canadian jersey on a couple different times, as an amateur. 1995 for the Canadian junior national team was my first time. And then the 2006 was the first WBC. And I got the phone call from Greg Hamilton to come out and represent the country, which was just amazing. Playing against the United States and South America and Mexico. And we did well. We didn't advance, of course, but what a really cool time, and a great idea by Major League Baseball to have the World Baseball Classic to make it a worldwide game. And then I touched on it earlier a little bit before, but when I finally finished playing with the Mariners, I was their last cut in 2008, and my elbow was hanging on by a thread, and the doctor said, there's not too much left. And so at that point, I voluntarily said, I'm gonna head home. I'm gonna be done. And so I was driving home, and I was heading through the hills of Nevada, and I got a phone call from Greg Hamilton saying, "Hey, did you know that we qualified for the Olympics, and you got one more tournament in you?" And so I drove home, and I hugged my wife and my kids, and my professional career was over, but I had one tournament to play, and that was the Olympics. And what a special blessing to be able to put that jersey on, to fly to Beijing and be part of that whole spectacle. And to finish my career as an Olympian is something I mean, what more can you ask for?
Oh man, it's remarkable. Like, most guys will get an inning in their last game of the last time you go to the Summer Olympic Games and finish it off. I read some really great stories, Chris, about your impact on that team because you had been through it. You were a veteran leader. Some of the guys were just awestruck that you joined them to go to the Olympic Games. And one in particular, TJ Burton, I read a really cool thing today about how much you impacted him and developed a little relationship in that tournament. Speak to that, what it was like to be kind of the guy that everybody looked up to on that team.
Well, yeah, it was strange actually because I just felt like a normal one of the guys, and I was just so excited to be asked. And obviously, I just finished my career, and I had 7 years in, and so guys had been watching me on TV and doing different things for years, and so I think they had a little bit of a stigma in terms of what I was going to be like, whatever it might be. But TJ was a young kid in the Indians organization with a good arm, and we just hit it off. And I mean, everyone on that team was just so amazing. Like we all traveled around together and had a good time, and going through the different sites in Beijing, the Great Wall of China and Tiananmen Square, and all like just amazing. But there were certain guys you just gravitate towards, and he was a guy that just continued to ask questions. And to this day, I mean, he texted me today, and we're on a group chat with a bunch of ball talk guys from the national team, and just a lot of fun to build rapport and with a bunch of fellow Canadians and lifelong friendships that'll never leave, which is sweet.
I'm always interested to speak to Olympians about the outside their sport experience of the Olympic Games. You're so focused, obviously, on your sport and succeeding at it. Did you get the chance, and do you have some great memories to share about the Olympic Games outside of baseball and what you went to watch and some of the celebrations along the way?
Well, for one, the Olympic Village is one of the most impressive and fun things I've ever seen. You have all the athletes from all the countries eating food in this massive cafeteria that's literally 300 meters long with every kind of food you can possibly want, and it's 24 hours. And so you're literally walking by and you got 7'2" twins from Latvia and basketball players, and then you got 4'6" little gymnasts that are spinning around you. You're like, well, this is like, am I in the circus? This is crazy. I was able to see the dream team play. I was able to watch Usain Bolt break the 100-meter record. I was on the finish line with a bunch of teammates, and I have that on tape. I saw some of the most amazing ping pong I've ever seen in my life, just sitting there going it was the most amazing ping pong. I saw David Phelps win a bunch of medals swimming. So I got to see a lot of cool stuff, man. And it was so cool because our schedule allowed us to see things, and we'd practice early in the morning and have the rest of the, on an off day, whatever. So I signed up for everything I possibly could and got to see a lot of really neat stuff. But yeah, it was neat.
Good Lord, Chris. I was expecting maybe one or two, but you just listed off some of the most iconic sports memories in history right there, like Dream Team, Bolt, Michael Phelps. Good Lord, man. And ping pong.
Yeah. I had lunch with Rafael Nadal, believe it or not. True story.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole cafeteria was full, and then there was this guy sitting there with his trainer, and there was one spot left, and my buddies were on the other side of him, and so I sat down and I started, and then I realized who it was, and he's like, who are you? Who do you? I'm like, I'm on the Canadian team. I'm like, what do you do? And meanwhile, I knew it was Rafael Nadal. I was like, Jesus, this is awesome! Like one of the best tennis players of all time, right? So that was kind of fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Obviously, the leadership led to ultimately coaching the game. Our junior national team, you worked as a pitching coach for them. Give us some insight about how much you enjoyed the chance to give back to impart the knowledge you learned and coaching in general. Is that something you looked forward to, something you were excited about?
One of my favorite things, actually. It is so fun, to see kids that can physically do it, 17, 18-year-old kids, 16-year-old kids that are, can physically, be very effective, but also just kids that need to learn, right? And they're sponges, and to have their eyes and ears open, and then for me to be able to kind of say, hey, this is how I was when I was your age, and this is really what we need to focus on. And let's talk about how big leaguers think. Let's talk about the mindset of what it takes to compete at the highest level. Let's talk about those things. And just the reward from that has been very, very special. And actually, I agreed with Greg Hamilton the other day to help coach again this year. So I'm going to go back and help out doing that again this year. I did it for 5 or 6 years before, and it's time for me to hop back on there because I enjoy it so much. So.
It's amazing that Greg continues to lead that group, because it feels as though he's been in charge of that program forever. Literally, as long as I can remember, Greg Hamilton has run the Canadian national team. So on that team, there was a very young, very exciting prospect from Calgary. You knew we were coming here eventually. One Mr. Michael Soroka. It's well documented, your relationship with him. How did it begin, and how has it evolved over the years? It's obvious that he looks to you, continues to look to you for advice and friendship and companionship. And just talk to us about your relationship with Mike Soroka.
I actually just got off the phone with him before our talk here. So he's in Atlanta preparing for a season. And like, honestly, man, my life is so blessed. I get to work with a guy like this after my career, and I can kind of live vicariously through him and help him and be a mentor and be someone that can listen and be in his corner. So yeah, I met Mike when he was 13. He came to one of the camps that I was kind of running in Calgary, and he was kind of, his dad is like a monster. His dad walked in, he's like 6'6", 280. I'm like, so that's your dad. Okay. So you're going to be a big dude. And he starts throwing, and I'm like, okay, like pretty good. But the thing about Michael was that he, from day one, he was able to make corrections right away. I'd say, hey, let's try this mechanically next time he had it. And he always had arm speed. He could always throw strikes. He could always spin the breaking ball. And from that point on, it was like every single time I was with him at this camp or whatever camp he would come to, it was like, I need more. I want more. Tell me more. Tell me more. And it was just like this relentless pursuit of, okay, this kid gets it and he actually can physically do it. So then I called Greg and I'm like, hey, man, we got to get this kid in here early to the national team because he's advanced and he's going to be able to, compete. And then we brought him, and eventually as he got older and, he was a little bit of a pudgy kid at age 13. And then he got bigger and stronger and started filling out. And then his arm angle was a little low. And so we moved it up a little bit here and there. And it just was a progression that was good. And we've always seen eye to eye. We have similar values and similar morals, and we just kind of gravitated towards each other. And it's been such a blessing to watch what he's been able to do, to see him be a first-round draft pick and fly through the minor leagues, and then have that great year in 2019 where he was an all-star. Like, I sometimes pinch myself and say, like, I'm just so thankful that I get to be in his corner. And he calls me, when this first when he got called to the big leagues, I was walking through the frozen food aisle of the grocery store, and he called me and he told me, and I started crying. I'm like, this is like so good. So I made that flight and that trip to New York the next day and watched it. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, obviously you enormous pride felt, almost like a father to him. I have to think that your injury history, Chris, certainly helped because Mike's dealt with some pretty devastating stuff early in his career, and what you went through, you're probably able to impart a lot of wisdom into what it was going to take for him to get back from those injuries.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's wisdom or just trying to survive, right? But I tell him what I did, and I just told him, it's more about being just being there for someone. And I said, hey, if it's 2 a.m., you need to talk, let's talk, right? But yeah, just he's gone through quite a bit with his torn Achilles here in the last year, and he's coming back and he's going to be stronger than ever, I have no doubt. But special athlete, special kid, and just always extremely appropriate in the questions he asks in terms of the game. And now he's at that level where the questions we have back and forth are more about life off the field, or hey, how do I tell me what would you do in this situation, whatever it might be, more just of a friend and a helper, So.
Yeah, in a strange way, maybe having a foot injury or an Achilles injury. They say there's only so many bullets in everybody's whip, and maybe that year off at a young age, after all the time it's taken to get where he is now, perhaps it helps him be fresh when he comes back this year. Because I saw highlights of that first session just the other day, and he looked electric, man. Just excellent, as if he hadn't missed a single beat.
Yeah, and that's hoping. All things happen for a reason, and who knows why this did happen. But at the same time, maybe he'll be able to, just come back and get back into it. And we're just hoping for a really long, healthy career, and just watch him to continue to get people out at the highest level is a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, I'm sure I speak for all Canadians, Albertans especially, that we hope he comes back strong, and he is on my fantasy roster as well, so I definitely want him to throw a little, for sure. Chris, you were well known in your playing career, and then after as well, for a lot of philanthropic work. And can you just touch on some of the things you were involved with, certainly early on, and even to now, that you've done, obviously, to better the world outside of baseball altogether?
Well, I think no matter what I've been involved in, it's been kind of a group effort. We recently in Calgary, we started, well, not recently, I guess it's been years now, but a friend of mine was killed by a drunk driver, and his name was Alex Schaap. And so we started a charity in his name. It's called the Alex Schaap Charity to Enhance and Nurture Development. So the acronym is ASCEND. And he was a big technology guy. And so what we do is actually I built a wiffle ball field on my acreage west of the city, and we do a 24-hour event out there, and we raise a bunch of money per year for this charity, and it's based around technology, based around helping people with those people in need that for whatever reason they can't afford technology, whether it's a laptop or whatever. We work with a couple different organizations to help the people in need through them, and that's one of the things we do. And did a couple things in the past, but those have kind of expired because of my playing career and proximity to where I used to do those things. But that's the thing we're kind of doing now.
How's your wiffle ball game?
Not bad. It's my elbow's not very good, so I can't really do what I want to do with it at the ball. But we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, you should just have a bat in your hand anyway. I mean, get out of the pitching game altogether. You spend enough time on the bump in your life for sure, buddy. Obviously, your hands are very full with 3 beautiful young daughters and a wife as well. Give us just one quick insight into what's a day in the life of Chris Rietsma in 2021.
Well, this year's, like I said, it's been a little different. I've been a lot less busy. Haven't been on planes as much. So this year is actually the year of COVID has been pretty good for me, actually, because I get to see my wife and my kids every day. I get to wake up. I'm working with the Kansas City Royals, so I get a bunch of emails and phone calls I have to do every day, videos to watch, helping the scouting department. So that takes up a little of my day. Most of my day is supporting my wife and my kids, and being around. My father passed away a couple years ago, so I got to be with my mom a lot, and my sister who lives close. So it's just been a year for me to step back and be like, okay, what am I focusing on? What are my priorities? And really focusing on those things. So I wish it was a little bit more dynamic for the show there, Bekks, but that's kind of the way it is right now. And things will I'll be coaching the junior national team here soon when things lighten up, and helping out with that, and then I'll continue my job with the Royals. So.
Well, regardless of what a day in the life of Chris Rietsma looks like, we're incredibly glad that you made this day for making it part of the show. I'm honored, sir. It is so amazing to meet you. What an incredible interview. So many great memories, such wonderful things to talk about. I have had goosebumps on goosebumps virtually the entire interview. So it has been absolutely my pleasure, sir. I think this is in order. Thank you so very much for stopping by and talking ball with Bekks. You take care, my friend.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, there you have it, friends. We've done it again. Another great episode in the books. Our thanks to future star Tag Weeder, head coach of the 15U Dogs Academy program and former World Series champion Lou Pote, and our featured guest of the week, of course, 7-year MLB veteran Chris Rietsma. Tune in next week, same time, same channel, as we welcome 3 more unbelievable guests. Mentioned them earlier. We're going all softball next week, my friends. So make sure you stop on by. Talkin' Ball with Bekks from Gap to Gap and Coast to Coast. Sundays, 5 Eastern, 3 in the mountains. We'll see you then.